often goes unnoticed in our daily lives, yet it holds the potential to transform our futures in profound ways. This concept was brilliantly demonstrated by the remarkable turnaround of British cycling, a story that serves as a compelling testament to the effectiveness of marginal gains. In 2003, British cycling was languishing in mediocrity. For nearly a century, British riders had achieved little of note on the international stage, with just a single gold medal at the Olympic Games since 1908 and a complete absence of victories in the prestigious Tour de France. The situation was so dire that some European bike manufacturers refused to sell their products to the British team, fearing that association with such underperformers would harm their brand. Enter Dave Brailsford, the newly appointed performance director who would change the course of British cycling history. Brailsford's approach was revolutionary. In its simplicity, he focused on making tiny 1% improvements across all aspects of cycling performance. This strategy, which he termed the aggregation of marginal gains, was based on the belief that the cumulative effect of numerous small enhancements would lead to significant overall improvement. Brailsford and his team left no stone unturned in their quest for these marginal gains. They made obvious tweaks, such as redesigning bike seats for improved comfort and applying alcohol to tires for better grip. But they also delved into less apparent areas. They introduced electrically heated overshorts to maintain optimal muscle temperature, utilized biofeedback sensors to fine-tune workout responses, and even tested various fabrics in wind tunnels to create more aerodynamic racing suits. The team's commitment to this philosophy extended far beyond the bicycle. They brought in a surgeon to teach riders the most effective hand-washing techniques to reduce the risk of illness. They meticulously selected the best pillows and mattresses for each rider to ensure quality sleep. In a particularly striking example of their attention to detail, they painted the interior of the team truck white to more easily spot dust that could potentially impact the performance of their precisely calibrated bikes. The results of this approach were nothing short of astounding. Within just 5 years, British cycling dominated the 2008 Beijing Olympics, securing an impressive 60% of the available gold medals in cycling events. They continued this success at the 2012 London Olympics, breaking multiple world and Olympic records. Perhaps most impressively, British riders went on to win 5 Tour de France titles in 6 years, a feat that would have seemed impossible just a decade earlier. This remarkable transformation serves as a powerful illustration of a broader principle, the compound effect of small habits over time. It's a concept that challenges our natural inclination to seek out dramatic, overnight changes. We often fall into the trap of believing that significant results require equally significant actions. We dream of losing substantial weight, launching successful businesses, or achieving other lofty goals, and we imagine that these outcomes must be the result of singular, heroic efforts. However, the reality is far more nuanced and, in many ways, more accessible. The British cycling story shows us that sustained, incremental progress can yield extraordinary results. When we consistently improve by just 1% each day, the compounded effect over a year is a 37-fold improvement. Conversely, if we allow ourselves to decline by 1% daily, we risk reducing our performance to near zero over the same period. This mathematical reality underscores the immense power of habits, both positive and negative. Good habits, like compound interest in finance, accumulate value over time. A single workout might not transform your physique, but a year of consistent exercise can reshape your body and health. Similarly, reading a few pages each day might not make you an expert overnight, but maintaining this habit for years can lead to profound knowledge and wisdom. The challenge lies in our perception of progress. Small improvements often feel insignificant in the moment. It's easy to discount the value of saving a little money, exercising for a short time, or studying a language for just an hour. The results aren't immediately apparent, which can lead to discouragement and a return to old, less productive habits. Equally insidious is the ease with which we can slip into negative habits. A single unhealthy meal doesn't cause immediate weight gain. Neglecting your relationships for one day doesn't instantly destroy them. Procrastinating on a project once doesn't immediately derail your career. But when these small negative choices compound over time, they can lead to significant problems. This principle applies across all areas of life. In personal development, consistently reading for 30 minutes a day can lead to dozens of books completed over a year, expanding your knowledge and perspective. In fitness, adding just one more rep or a minute more to your workout each session can result in substantial strength and endurance gains over time. In relationships, small daily acts of kindness and attention can strengthen bonds in ways that grand gestures cannot. The power of incremental change is particularly relevant in today's fast-paced world, where instant gratification is often prioritized over long-term growth. It's a reminder that true, lasting change rarely happens overnight. Instead, it's the result of consistent, small actions repeated over time. Moreover, this approach to improvement is inherently more sustainable than attempting drastic changes. Radical lifestyle overhauls often lead to burnout or disappointment when immediate results aren't seen. In contrast, focusing on small, manageable changes allows for gradual adaptation and increases the likelihood of long-term success. The concept of marginal gains also encourages a more holistic approach to improvement. Just as the British cycling team looked beyond obvious areas for enhancement, we too can find opportunities for growth in unexpected places. This might mean improving our sleep habits, refining our decision-making processes, or enhancing our learning techniques. It's important to note that while the focus is on small improvements, the mindset behind this approach is anything but small. It requires a commitment to continuous improvement, a willingness to experiment and adapt, and the patience to trust in a process that may not yield immediate, visible results. The story of British cycling's transformation is more than just a tale of sporting success. It's a powerful metaphor for personal and professional growth. It challenges us to reconsider our approach to change and improvement. Rather than always seeking monumental leaps forward, we can focus on consistent, small steps in the right direction. This doesn't mean we should abandon ambitious goals or stop dreaming big. Instead, it suggests a more practical path to achieving those aspirations. By breaking down our larger objectives into smaller, daily habits, we make progress more manageable and sustainable. In essence, the philosophy of marginal gains reminds us that excellence is not an act, but a habit. It's not about perfection in any single moment, but about consistent improvement over time. It teaches us to value the process as much as the outcome, and to find satisfaction in the small victories that pave the way to larger achievements. As we navigate our own journeys of personal and professional development, we would do well to remember the lesson of the British cycling team. Their success wasn't born from a single revolutionary change, but from a relentless commitment to small, continuous improvements. By adopting a similar mindset in our own lives, we too can harness the surprising power of atomic habits and marginal gains, transforming our potential into reality, one small step at a time. The journey of personal growth and achievement is often misunderstood. We tend to focus on immediate results, expecting our efforts to yield instant, visible changes. However, the reality of progress is far more nuanced and complex. It's not about where you stand at this moment, but rather the direction in which you're heading. Your current situation, whether favorable or challenging, is less significant than the habits and behaviors shaping your future trajectory. Consider this: a millionaire who consistently overspends is on a path to financial ruin, regardless of their current wealth. Their habits are setting them up for future hardship. Conversely, an individual struggling financially who manages to save even a small amount regularly is laying the groundwork for future prosperity. It's the habit, not the immediate outcome, that truly matters. This principle extends far beyond finance. Our lives are shaped by the cumulative effect of our daily choices and actions. Your current weight isn't just a number on a scale, it's a reflection of your eating and exercise habits over time. Your knowledge base isn't static, it's constantly evolving based on your learning habits. Even the state of your living space is a direct result of your cleaning and organizing habits. Understanding this concept is crucial because it highlights the power of small, consistent actions. Every choice you make is like a vote for the person you wish to become. Are you consistently choosing actions that align with your goals and values? Are you making decisions that will compound positively over time? These are the questions that truly matter when considering your long-term success and fulfillment. The compounding nature of habits works both ways. Positive habits can create an upward spiral of growth and improvement, while negative habits can lead to a downward spiral of decline. This is why it's so important to be mindful of the habits we cultivate. Let's explore some examples of positive compounding. Productivity, for instance, compounds in fascinating ways. Imagine completing one extra task each day. It might not seem significant in the moment, but over the course of a year, that's 365 additional accomplishments. Over a decade, it's 3,650. The impact becomes even more profound when you consider that each completed task often opens up new opportunities or frees up mental space for more complex endeavors. Knowledge is another area where compounding yields remarkable results. Reading one book might provide some interesting insights, but a lifetime habit of reading can transform your entire worldview. Each new piece of information doesn't just add to your knowledge base, it interacts with existing knowledge, creating new connections and deeper understanding. This is why lifelong learners often display a kind of intellectual compounding, where their rate of learning and insight generation accelerates over time. Relationships, too, compound in powerful ways. Every positive interaction, every act of kindness or support contributes to the strength of your social network. Over time, this can create a virtuous cycle where the more you help others, the more willing and able others are to help you. This network effect can lead to opportunities and support that far exceed the sum of individual interactions. However, it's equally important to recognize the danger of negative compounding. Stress, for example, can accumulate in insidious ways. A single stressful day is manageable for most people. But when stress becomes chronic, occurring day after day, week after week, it can have severe impacts on both mental and physical health. The effects compound over time, potentially leading to burnout, depression, or serious health issues. Negative thoughts are another area where compounding can be particularly harmful. If you consistently think of yourself as incapable or unworthy, you're likely to interpret events in ways that reinforce these beliefs. This can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, where your negative expectations actually shape your reality. The same principle applies to how you view others. If you habitually see people as untrustworthy or hostile, you're more likely to notice and remember instances that confirm this view, further reinforcing your negative perspective. Even societal issues can compound. Major social movements or upheavals rarely spring from a single event. Instead, they're often the result of numerous small grievances and injustices that accumulate over time. When a tipping point is reached, the built-up tension can explode into significant social change. Understanding the compounding nature of habits and choices is crucial, but it's equally important to recognize that progress is rarely linear. This is where many people stumble in their pursuit of personal growth or achievement. They expect to see immediate, consistent results from their efforts, and when this doesn't happen, they become discouraged and may give up. The reality of progress is often more like the melting of an ice cube. Imagine a room at 25 degrees Fahrenheit with an ice cube sitting on a table. As the room slowly warms, nothing visibly changes with the ice cube. At 26 degrees, 27, 28, and so on, the ice remains solid. It's not until the temperature reaches 32 degrees that a dramatic change occurs. The ice begins to melt. This sudden change wasn't caused by the final degree of temperature increase alone, but by the accumulation of all the previous increases. This analogy perfectly illustrates how progress often works in real life. You might be working consistently towards a goal, exercising regularly, learning a new skill, building a business without seeing any noticeable results for a long time. This period of apparent stagnation is what we might call the valley of disappointment. It's the phase where your efforts seem to be making no difference, and it's where many people lose heart and give up. But just like the ice cube, all that work isn't wasted. It's building up potential energy, creating the conditions necessary for a breakthrough. When that breakthrough finally comes, it might seem sudden or unexpected to outside observers. They might call it an overnight success, not realizing the months or years of consistent effort that led to this point. This pattern shows up in numerous areas of life and nature. Consider the growth of bamboo. For the first 5 years after planting, bamboo shows very little visible growth. But during this time, it's developing an extensive root system underground. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, it can shoot up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Without understanding the process, one might think the bamboo grew 90 feet in 6 weeks, when in reality, it was growing for 5 years and 6 weeks. The same principle applies to many forms of personal and professional growth. Learning a new language, for instance, often involves a long period where you feel like you're not making progress. You're learning vocabulary and grammar rules, but you still can't converse fluently. Then, at some point, things start to click. You begin to think in the new language, and your progress seems to accelerate rapidly. But this sudden improvement is built on the foundation of all your previous study and practice. Recognizing this pattern is crucial for maintaining motivation and perseverance in the face of apparent lack of progress. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results from your efforts. But understanding that you're building potential energy, that your work is accumulating even if the results aren't yet visible, can help you push through the valley of disappointment. This concept is beautifully illustrated by the quote often attributed to Jacob Riis, which has been embraced by successful individuals and teams across various fields. When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow it will split in two, and I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before. This perspective shift can be transformative. Instead of focusing solely on immediate results, you learn to trust in the process. You understand that the work you're doing today, even if it doesn't seem to be yielding results, is setting the stage for future breakthroughs. It's like planting seeds. You don't see the plant the day after you put the seed in the ground, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Moreover, this understanding can help you approach your goals with more patience and consistency. If you know that progress often involves a plateau before a breakthrough, you're less likely to get discouraged during that plateau phase. You can remind yourself that this is a normal part of the process, not a sign of failure. It's also worth noting that this principle applies not just to individual efforts, but to larger scale changes as well. Societal shifts, scientific breakthroughs, and technological innovations often follow this pattern. Years or decades of work and small advancements suddenly culminate in a major leap forward that seems to come out of nowhere. In light of this, how should we approach our personal and professional development? First, we need to shift our focus from immediate results to consistent habits. Rather than obsessing over day-to-day changes, we should ask ourselves if our current habits are moving us in the right direction. Are we consistently taking actions that will compound positively over time? Second, we need to cultivate patience and persistence, understanding that significant change often requires a long period of seemingly fruitless effort can help us stay the course when we're tempted to give up. We need to trust in the process and keep putting in the work even when we can't yet see the results. Third, we should pay attention to the small things. Given the compounding nature of habits, even tiny improvements or deteriorations can have significant long-term impacts. This means celebrating small victories and being vigilant about small negative habits that could compound into larger problems. Fourth, we need to be mindful of the different areas where compounding occurs. It's not just about finance or physical fitness. Our mental habits, our relationships, our knowledge, and our skills all compound over time. By taking a holistic view of our lives and habits, we can ensure we're setting ourselves up for positive compounding in all areas. Finally, we should remember that breakthroughs often come after a long plateau. When we're in the midst of that plateau, it's easy to feel like we're not making progress. But if we can maintain our efforts and push through, we may find ourselves on the cusp of a major breakthrough. In conclusion, the path to significant achievement and personal growth is rarely a straight line. It's a journey filled with plateaus, valleys of disappointment, and sudden breakthroughs. By understanding the compounding nature of habits and the delayed nature of progress, we can approach our goals with greater patience, persistence, and wisdom. We can learn to trust in the process, to keep putting in the work, even when we can't see immediate results, knowing that we're building potential for future breakthroughs. In doing so, we set ourselves up not just for short-term wins, but for long-term, sustainable success and fulfillment. In the pursuit of personal growth and achievement, we often find ourselves fixated on grand goals and ambitious outcomes. We dream of transformative changes, losing significant weight, building a successful business, or mastering a new skill. While these aspirations can be inspiring, they may not be the most effective way to create lasting change in our lives. Instead, the key to sustainable progress and meaningful improvement lies in the power of systems and habits. The journey of personal development is akin to nurturing a garden. Each habit we cultivate is like a seed, beginning as a tiny, seemingly insignificant decision. But as we consistently water and tend to these seeds, they grow roots, sprout, and eventually blossom into sturdy plants that can withstand the tests of time and adversity. Similarly, our habits, when nurtured consistently, become the foundation of our character and the drivers of our success. This process of growth is not always visible or linear. Much like a gardener who patiently tends to their plot without seeing immediate results, we too must persist in our efforts even when progress seems slow or non-existent. This period of apparent stagnation is what we might call the plateau of latent potential, a phase where our consistent efforts are building up potential energy, even if we can't see the results yet. Breaking through this plateau requires a shift in our mindset and approach. Rather than focusing solely on end goals, we need to direct our attention to the systems and processes that lead to those results. This idea, popularized by figures like Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, challenges the conventional wisdom about goal setting and achievement. Consider a basketball coach aiming to win a championship. While the championship is the ultimate goal, obsessing over it during every practice and game would be counterproductive. Instead, the coach's focus should be on developing effective training routines, fostering team chemistry, and continuously improving strategies. By concentrating on these systemic elements, the team naturally moves closer to their championship aspirations. This systems-based approach offers several advantages over a purely goal-oriented mindset. Firstly, it acknowledges that winners and losers often share the same goals. Every Olympic athlete dreams of gold. Every job candidate hopes to be hired. If goals alone determined success, everyone with the same objective would achieve it. Clearly, there's more to the equation. The British cycling team's remarkable transformation in the early 2000s illustrates this point perfectly. Their goal of winning the Tour de France hadn't changed over the years. What changed was their system, their commitment to marginal gains and continuous improvement in every aspect of cycling. It's this shift in approach, not a change in their ultimate goal, led to their unprecedented success. Moreover, achieving a goal is often just a momentary change, not a lasting transformation. Imagine tidying up a chronically messy room. The act of cleaning provides immediate satisfaction, but unless the underlying habits and systems change, the room will inevitably return to its cluttered state. This cycle of temporary improvement followed by regression is all too common when we focus solely on goals without addressing the root causes of our behaviors. Another limitation of goal-centric thinking is its tendency to restrict our happiness and satisfaction. When we tie our contentment to specific outcomes, we create an either-or scenario where we're only allowed to be happy once we've reached our target. This not only postpones our happiness, but also narrows our definition of success. Life rarely unfolds exactly as we plan, and by fixating on one particular version of success, we may miss out on equally valuable alternatives. A systems-first mentality offers a more sustainable path to satisfaction. When we learn to love the process rather than fixating on the product, we open ourselves up to a continuous stream of fulfillment. Every day that we engage with our system, be it writing, exercising, or learning, becomes an opportunity for satisfaction, regardless of the immediate outcome. Furthermore, goal-oriented thinking can create a yo-yo-yo effect in our efforts. Many people work intensely towards a goal, only to lose motivation once it's achieved. Runners train rigorously for a race, then stop exercising once they cross the finish line. This pattern of intense effort followed by inactivity can be counterproductive to long-term progress and well-being. In contrast, a systems approach encourages consistent engagement and continuous improvement. It's not about winning a single game, but about playing the game indefinitely and getting better with each iteration. This mindset aligns perfectly with the concept of lifelong learning and growth, allowing us to derive satisfaction from the journey itself rather than just the destination. Implementing a systems-based approach requires a shift in how we think about change and improvement. Instead of setting ambitious goals and hoping for massive transformations, we need to focus on building robust systems of small, manageable habits. These atomic habits, as James Clear calls them, are the building blocks of significant change. The power of atomic habits lies in their compounding nature. Just as compound interest can turn small financial investments into substantial wealth over time, consistently practiced small habits can lead to remarkable personal growth and achievement. The key is to make these habits so small and manageable that they're almost impossible to skip. For instance, rather than setting a goal to get in shape, you might establish a system of exercising for just 5 minutes every day. This tiny commitment is easy to keep, and over time, it's likely to naturally expand as you build momentum and enjoy the process. The focus shifts from the intimidating end goal to the simple, daily action that moves you in the right direction. This approach also helps in breaking bad habits. Instead of trying to quit a negative behavior cold turkey, which often leads to failure and discouragement, you can create a system of small, positive habits that gradually replace the undesired behavior. For example, if you want to reduce your social media usage, you might start by setting a system where you read a page of a book before checking your phone each morning. The beauty of a systems-based approach is its flexibility and resilience. Unlike rigid goals that can be derailed by unexpected circumstances, systems can adapt and evolve. If one small habit isn't working, you can adjust it or replace it with another without feeling like you've failed. This adaptability makes your personal growth journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Moreover, focusing on systems allows for a more holistic approach to personal development. Instead of compartmentalizing different areas of your life, you can create interconnected systems that support overall growth. For example, a system of regular exercise might naturally lead to better eating habits, improved sleep, and increased productivity at work. It's important to note that adopting a systems-first mentality doesn't mean completely abandoning goals. Goals can still serve as useful North Stars, providing direction and inspiration. The key is to not let the goals overshadow the importance of the daily systems and habits that lead to their achievement. In practice, this might look like setting a broad, directional goal like improved physical fitness and then focusing intently on creating and maintaining systems that support that direction, like a daily exercise routine, a balanced meal plan, and a consistent sleep schedule. The goal provides context and motivation, while the systems drive actual progress. This approach also aligns well with the concept of process goals in psychology. Instead of focusing solely on outcome goals like lose 20 pounds, process goals emphasize the behaviors and actions within your control, like exercise for 30 minutes 5 times a week. By shifting focus to these controllable elements, you reduce stress and increase your sense of agency and accomplishment. Implementing a systems-based approach requires patience and persistence. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results, but remember the principle of the plateau of latent potential. Your consistent efforts are building up, even if the effects aren't immediately visible. Trust in the process and keep showing up for your systems day after day. It's also crucial to regularly review and refine your systems. What works today might not be as effective tomorrow as your circumstances and capabilities change. Treat your systems as living entities that need regular care and adjustment. This ongoing process of refinement ensures that your systems continue to serve you effectively over time. Another powerful aspect of systems thinking is its ability to compound across different areas of your life. As you build effective systems in one area, you'll likely find that the skills and mindset transfer to others. For instance, the discipline and consistency you develop through a regular exercise system might help you establish a productive work routine or improve your relationships through consistent communication habits.
One enemy remaining.
Furthermore, a systems approach can help mitigate the effects of willpower depletion. Relying on sheer willpower to achieve goals is often unsustainable, as willpower is a finite resource that gets depleted throughout the day. By establishing systems and habits, you reduce the need for constant decision-making and willpower exertion. Your positive behaviors become more automatic, making it easier to stay on track, even when you're tired or stressed. In conclusion, while goals can provide direction and motivation, it's the systems and habits we establish that truly drive long-term success and fulfillment. By shifting our focus from lofty objectives to manageable, consistent actions, we set ourselves up for sustainable growth and improvement. Remember, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Embracing this systems-first mentality doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or ambitions. Rather, it's about recognizing that those dreams are realized through the cumulative effect of small, consistent actions over time. It's about falling in love with the process of becoming, rather than fixating on a specific end state. As you embark on your journey of personal growth and achievement, consider the systems you're building. Are your daily habits aligned with the person you want to become? Are you focusing on consistent, manageable actions rather than waiting for motivation to strike? By nurturing a garden of positive habits and robust systems, you create an environment where success can naturally flourish. In the end, life is less about the destinations we reach and more about the paths we walk. By focusing on systems, we ensure that every step of that journey is meaningful, regardless of where it ultimately leads. So start small, be consistent, trust the process, and watch as your atomic habits compound into remarkable transformations over time.
30 seconds left.
The journey of personal transformation is often misunderstood. Many of us embark on this path with grand aspirations and lofty goals, yet find ourselves struggling to make lasting changes. We set ambitious targets, like losing weight, quitting smoking, or starting a successful business, but despite our best intentions, we often fall short. The reason for this common struggle lies not in our lack of desire or effort, but in our fundamental approach to change itself. At the heart of this issue is a profound truth: the power of habits. Habits are the invisible architecture of our daily lives, shaping our actions, decisions, and ultimately, our destinies. They are like the atoms of our existence, small, often unnoticed, yet incredibly potent when compounded over time. Just as atoms build molecules, and molecules form matter, our habits accumulate to create the substance of our lives. The concept of atomic habits encapsulates this idea perfectly. An atomic habit is not just any small routine, it's a fundamental unit of behavior that, when consistently applied, can lead to remarkable results. These habits are both minuscule and mighty easy to implement, yet capable of generating tremendous power over time. To truly grasp the transformative potential of habits, we must first understand the layers of behavior change. Imagine peeling an onion. Each layer represents a different level at which change can occur. The outermost layer is about changing outcomes. This is where most people focus their efforts, setting goals like lose 20 pounds or make $1 million. The middle layer involves changing processes, the systems and routines we use to achieve our goals. But the innermost, most crucial layer is about changing our identity, our beliefs, self-image, and fundamental view of who we are. Many of us make the mistake of focusing solely on the outer layer's outcomes and processes without addressing the core. We set outcome-based goals and try to change our habits without altering our underlying beliefs. This approach often leads to temporary changes at best and frustration and failure at worst. Consider two individuals trying to quit smoking. One says, "I'm trying to quit," while the other states, "I'm not a smoker." The difference may seem subtle, but it's profound. The first person still identifies as a smoker attempting change, while the second has already shifted their identity. This identity shift is the key to lasting transformation. The power of identity-based habits lies in their alignment with our deepest beliefs about ourselves. When we change our identity, our behaviors naturally follow suit. If you see yourself as an athlete, you're more likely to maintain a consistent exercise routine. If you identify as a writer, sitting down to write each day becomes an expression of who you are, not just something you do. This principle extends beyond individual habits to broader systems of behavior. In societies, organizations, and individuals alike, there's always an underlying set of beliefs shaping the visible actions. A democracy operates on fundamentally different beliefs than a dictatorship, and these beliefs determine what behaviors are possible or impossible within each system. The challenge, then, is to align our desired behaviors with our identity. This is why many attempts at change fail. We try to adopt new habits that are incongruent with our self-image. If you see yourself as someone who prioritizes comfort over growth, it will be an uphill battle to consistently push yourself in the gym or tackle challenging projects at work. The story of Brian Clark, an entrepreneur who struggled with nail biting, illustrates this principle. Clark managed to stop biting his nails through sheer willpower, but the real transformation came when he changed how he saw himself.
Spike planted.
Instead of just trying to stop a bad habit, he began to see himself as someone who cared about his appearance and health. This shift in identity made the new behavior, not biting his nails, feel natural and sustainable. This approach to change, focusing on identity rather than outcomes, has profound implications for how we pursue personal growth. Instead of asking, "What do I want to achieve?" we should be asking, "Who do I want to become?" This subtle shift can make all the difference in creating lasting change. For instance, rather than setting a goal to lose weight, one might focus on becoming a person who prioritizes health and fitness. This identity-based approach naturally leads to behaviors that support weight loss, but it goes beyond that. It creates a sustainable lifestyle change that persists even after the initial weight loss goal is achieved. The power of this approach lies in its ability to create a positive feedback loop. As we act in alignment with our new identity, we reinforce that identity, which in turn makes it easier to maintain the new behaviors. Over time, what started as a conscious effort becomes an automatic expression of who we are. However, changing our identity is not an overnight process. It requires consistent, small actions that gradually reshape our self-image. This is where the concept of atomic habits becomes crucial. By focusing on tiny, manageable changes that align with our desired identity, we can slowly but surely transform ourselves. For example, if you want to become a writer, start by writing just 50 words a day. This atomic habit is small enough to be achievable even on your busiest days, but consistent enough to begin reshaping your identity. Over time, you'll naturally find yourself writing more, not because you're forcing yourself to meet a word count goal, but because writing has become an integral part of who you are. This approach also helps in breaking bad habits. Instead of trying to quit a negative behavior through willpower alone, focus on cultivating an identity that's incompatible with that behavior. If you want to stop procrastinating, start seeing yourself as someone who takes immediate action. Small, consistent steps in this direction will gradually shift your self-image, making procrastination feel increasingly at odds with who you are. It's important to note that this process of identity change is not about denying your current reality or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about consciously choosing and nurturing the aspects of yourself that you want to grow. We all have multiple facets to our identity, and by deliberately focusing on and developing certain traits, we can shape our overall self-image in positive ways.
Spike planted.
The beauty of this approach is its flexibility and resilience. Unlike rigid outcome-based goals that can be derailed by setbacks, identity-based habits are more adaptable. If you see yourself as a healthy person, a single unhealthy meal doesn't negate that identity. Instead, it becomes an outlier, prompting you to return to behaviors that align with your self-image. Moreover, focusing on identity change can lead to more holistic personal growth. When you change how you see yourself in one area, it often has positive ripple effects in other areas of your life. For instance, developing the identity of a disciplined person in your fitness routine might naturally extend to increased discipline in your work or personal relationships. However, it's crucial to approach this process with patience and self-compassion. Changing deeply ingrained beliefs and habits takes time. There will be setbacks and moments of doubt. The key is to view these not as failures, but as part of the learning process, opportunities to reinforce your commitment to your new identity. It's also worth noting that while we focus on personal identity, our habits and beliefs are often influenced by our environment and social circles. Surrounding yourself with people who embody the traits you aspire to can significantly aid in your transformation. If you want to become more entrepreneurial, spending time with entrepreneurs can help shift your self-perception and reinforce behaviors aligned with that identity. As you embark on this journey of identity-based habit change, remember that the goal is not perfection, but progress. Each small action that aligns with your desired identity is a step in the right direction. Over time, these atomic habits compound, leading to significant personal transformation. In conclusion, the path to lasting change lies not in setting ambitious goals or relying on sheer willpower, but in reshaping our fundamental identity. By focusing on who we want to become, rather than just what we want to achieve, we set the stage for sustainable, meaningful change. Through the power of atomic habits, small, consistent actions aligned with our desired identity, we can gradually transform ourselves. This approach requires patience, self-reflection, and a willingness to challenge our existing beliefs about ourselves. But the rewards are immense. Not only do we achieve our desired outcomes, but we do so in a way that feels natural and sustainable. We don't just change what we do, we change who we are. As you reflect on your own goals and aspirations, consider shifting your focus from outcomes to identity. Ask yourself not just what you want to achieve, but who you need to become to achieve it. Then, identify the small, atomic habits that will help you embody that identity. Remember, every great achievement, every personal transformation begins with a single, small step. Your atomic habits are the building blocks of your future self. Choose them wisely, implement them consistently, and watch as they compound into remarkable results.
Last player standing.
The journey of personal transformation is a fascinating and complex process, one that often eludes even the most determined individuals. At the heart of this journey lies a profound truth: true behavior change is, at its core, identity change. This concept challenges our traditional notions of self-improvement and offers a powerful framework for achieving lasting personal growth. Consider the story of Brian Clark, an entrepreneur who struggled with nail biting for years. Like many of us, he initially approached the problem with sheer willpower, managing to stop the habit temporarily. However, the real transformation came when he took an unexpected step. He scheduled his first manicure. This simple act shifted his perspective entirely. Suddenly, Brian wasn't just trying to stop a bad habit, he was becoming someone who took pride in the appearance of his nails. This shift in identity made the change effortless and permanent. This anecdote illustrates a crucial point. The most potent form of motivation comes from aligning our actions with our sense of self. When a habit becomes part of your identity, it transcends the realm of things you want to do and enters the sphere of who you are.
Attackers win.
This transition from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation is the key to sustainable change. The power of identity-based habits is evident in various aspects of our lives. Think about someone who takes great pride in their physical fitness. They don't need to convince themselves to go to the gym. Working out is simply an expression of who they are. Similarly, a person who identifies as a voracious reader doesn't struggle to find time for books. Reading is an integral part of their identity. This principle extends beyond individual habits to broader life goals. Instead of focusing on reading a book, the aim becomes to embody the identity of a reader. Rather than running a marathon, the goal shifts to becoming a runner. Learning an instrument transforms into embracing the identity of a musician. This subtle but powerful shift in perspective changes everything. Our behaviors are typically a reflection of our identity, often operating at a subconscious level. Research has shown that people are more likely to act in ways that align with their self-perception. For instance, individuals who saw themselves as voters were more likely to participate in elections compared to those who merely expressed a desire to vote. This alignment between identity and action creates a self-reinforcing cycle, making the desired behavior feel natural and effortless. However, it's important to recognize that identity can be a double-edged sword. While it can be a powerful force for positive change, it can also become a barrier to growth if we become too rigidly attached to certain self-perceptions. Many of us unknowingly limit ourselves with self-imposed labels. I'm not a morning person, I'm bad with technology, or I'm always late. These identity-based limitations can become self-fulfilling prophecies, hindering our ability to change and grow. The challenge, then, is to cultivate a flexible and evolving sense of identity that promotes growth rather than stagnation. This requires a willingness to question our long-held beliefs about ourselves and to embrace new possibilities. It's about recognizing that our identity is not fixed but fluid, capable of expanding and adapting as we accumulate new experiences and habits. But how exactly is our identity formed, and how can we actively shape it to support our desired changes? The process is both simpler and more profound than many realize. Our identity emerges from our habits. We are not born with preset beliefs about ourselves. Every aspect of our self-image is learned and conditioned through experience. This understanding leads to a powerful realization: we can deliberately shape our identity through our habits. Each time we make our bed, we reinforce the identity of an organized person. Every time we sit down to write, we strengthen our identity as a creative individual. With each workout, we embody the identity of someone committed to fitness. The key lies in the repetition. The word identity itself comes from Latin roots meaning repeated beingness. Our identity is quite literally the sum of our repeated actions. The more we repeat a behavior, the more evidence we accumulate for the associated identity. This evidence forms the foundation of our beliefs about ourselves. Consider how this plays out in real life. A person who attends church every Sunday for years has tangible proof of their religious identity. Someone who studies consistently builds evidence of their scholarly nature. The individual who exercises regularly, even in challenging conditions, reinforces their identity as a dedicated fitness enthusiast. This process of identity formation through habit is gradual and cumulative. We don't suddenly transform into entirely new people overnight. Instead, we evolve bit by bit, day by day, habit by habit. Each action we take is like a vote for the type of person we wish to become. Over time, these votes accumulate, shaping our self-image and, consequently, our future actions. Understanding this process gives us a powerful tool for personal transformation. Instead of focusing solely on outcomes, we can concentrate on building habits that align with our desired identity. Want to become more creative? Start with small, consistent creative practices. Aspire to be more health conscious. Begin with minor daily habits that reflect this identity. The beauty of this approach is its sustainability. When our actions align with our identity, they no longer feel like a chore or a struggle. They become a natural expression of who we are. This alignment creates a positive feedback loop. Our habits reinforce our identity, which in turn makes it easier to maintain those habits. However, it's crucial to approach this process with flexibility and self-compassion. Our identity should not become a rigid construct that limits our growth. Instead, it should be a dynamic, evolving aspect of ourselves that we continually refine and expand. This means being willing to challenge our existing beliefs about ourselves and to embrace new possibilities. For instance, someone who has always seen themselves as bad at math can begin to shift this identity by engaging in small, consistent math-related activities. Over time, as they accumulate evidence of their ability to engage with numbers, their self-perception can evolve. The key is to start small and focus on consistency rather than perfection. This approach to personal growth also highlights the importance of environment and social circles in shaping our identity. We are greatly influenced by the people and situations we regularly encounter. Surrounding ourselves with individuals who embody the traits we aspire to can significantly aid in our transformation. If you want to become more entrepreneurial, spending time with entrepreneurs can help shift your self-perception and reinforce behaviors aligned with that identity. Moreover, this understanding of identity formation can be applied to breaking negative habits. Instead of focusing on stopping an unwanted behavior, we can concentrate on cultivating an identity that is incompatible with that behavior. For example, rather than trying to quit smoking through willpower alone, one might focus on developing the identity of a health-conscious person who values clean air and physical well-being. It's important to note that this process of identity change through habit formation is not always linear or easy. There will be setbacks and moments of doubt. The key is to view these not as failures, but as part of the learning process, opportunities to reinforce our commitment to our new identity. Each time we choose to act in alignment with our desired identity, even after a setback, we strengthen our new self-image. As we embark on this journey of identity-based habit change, it's helpful to regularly reflect on our progress and adjust our approach as needed. This might involve journaling about our experiences, seeking feedback from trusted friends or mentors, or periodically reassessing our goals and the habits we're cultivating to support them. It's also worth considering how this approach to personal change can impact broader social change. As individuals reshape their identities and behaviors, they can influence their immediate social circles and, by extension, larger communities. This ripple effect of personal transformation can contribute to more significant societal shifts over time. In conclusion, the path to lasting personal change lies not in setting ambitious goals or relying on fleeting motivation, but in reshaping our fundamental identity through consistent, identity-aligned habits. By focusing on who we want to become, rather than just what we want to achieve, we set the stage for sustainable, meaningful transformation. This approach requires patience, self-reflection, and a willingness to challenge our existing beliefs about ourselves. But the rewards are immense. Not only do we achieve our desired outcomes, but we do so in a way that feels natural and sustainable. We don't just change what we do, we change who we are. As you reflect on your own goals and aspirations, consider shifting your focus from outcomes to identity. Ask yourself not just what you want to achieve, but who you need to become to achieve it. Then, identify the small, consistent habits that will help you embody that identity. Remember, every great achievement, every personal transformation begins with a single small step. Your habits are the building blocks of your future self. Choose them wisely, implement them consistently, and watch as they compound into remarkable results, shaping not just your actions, but your very identity. The journey of personal growth and habit formation is a fascinating exploration of human behavior and psychology. At its core, this journey begins with a crucial first step: awareness. We often go through life on autopilot, our actions guided by deeply ingrained habits that operate below the level of conscious thought. However, to truly transform our lives and build positive habits, we must first shine a light on these automatic behaviors. One powerful technique for increasing awareness is the simple act of verbalizing our actions and intentions. There's a profound difference between thinking about doing something and actually saying it out loud. When we vocalize our habits or plans, we engage more of our senses and create a stronger mental imprint. This verbalization can take many forms, from simply stating a task we need to complete to acknowledging a habit we want to change. For instance, imagine you're trying to break the habit of mindlessly scrolling through social media before bed. Instead of silently recognizing this behavior, try saying out loud, "I'm about to waste time on my phone instead of getting restful sleep." This verbal acknowledgement makes the consequences of the action more tangible and real. It's harder to ignore the implications when they're hanging in the air, spoken in your own voice. This principle extends beyond breaking bad habits. It's equally effective for reinforcing positive behaviors or simply remembering important tasks. If you have a busy day ahead, try verbalizing your to-do list in the morning. Today, I need to finish the report by noon, call the client at 2 p.m., and pick up groceries on the way home by saying these tasks aloud. You're more likely to remember them and feel a stronger sense of commitment to completing them. The power of verbalization is rooted in the way our brains process information. When we only think about something, we're primarily using the language centers of our brain. But when we speak, we engage additional neural pathways, including those associated with hearing and the motor control of speech. This multisensory engagement creates a stronger memory trace and a more robust commitment to action. However, awareness alone, while crucial, is often not enough to effect lasting change. This is where the concept of implementation intentions comes into play. An implementation intention is essentially a specific plan that outlines when and where you will perform a particular action or habit. It's a simple yet powerful tool that bridges the gap between intention and action. Consider a study conducted in Great Britain, where researchers worked with 248 people to improve their exercise habits. The participants were divided into 3 groups. The first group simply tracked their workouts, while the second group received motivational material about the benefits of exercise. The third group, however, was asked to create a specific plan for when and where they would exercise in the coming week. The results were striking. In the first 2 groups, only about 35 to 38% of participants exercised at least once per week. But in the third group, a whopping 91% followed through with their exercise plans. This dramatic difference highlights the power of having a concrete plan in place. The formula for an implementation intention is straightforward. When situation X arises, I will perform response Y. This simple structure forces you to consider the specific circumstances under which you'll carry out your intended behavior. It eliminates the vagueness that often plagues our good intentions and replaces it with a clear, actionable plan. For example, instead of saying, "I want to read more," you might create an implementation intention like, "When I finish dinner each evening, I will read for 30 minutes in my favorite armchair." This specificity makes it much more likely that you'll follow through, as you've clearly defined both the trigger finishing dinner and the action reading for 30 minutes in a specific location. Implementation intentions are effective across a wide range of behaviors and goals. They've been shown to increase adherence to health-related behaviors like getting flu shots or attending medical appointments. They've also been used successfully in civic engagement initiatives, boosting voter turnout by prompting people to plan the specifics of their trip to the polling station. The power of implementation intentions lies in their ability to remove decision-making from the equation when the moment to act arrives. When you've predetermined exactly when and where you'll perform a behavior, you don't have to rely on motivation or willpower in the moment. You simply follow through on the plan you've already made. This principle can be applied to virtually any habit or goal you want to pursue. Want to start a meditation practice? Try setting an implementation intention like, I will meditate for 10 minutes at 7 a.m. each morning in my spare room. Looking to improve your language skills. Your intention might be, I will practice Spanish for 20 minutes at 6 p.m. each evening at my desk. The key is to be as specific as possible about the time, location, and nature of the action you intend to take. This specificity serves two important purposes. First, it makes the action concrete and therefore more likely to be carried out. Second, it helps to anchor the new habit to existing routines or environmental cues, making it easier to remember and integrate into your daily life. It's worth noting that the most effective cues for habits are often tied to time and location. Our brains are particularly adept at forming associations with specific times and places. By leveraging these natural tendencies, we can create powerful triggers for our desired behaviors. When implementing this strategy, it can be helpful to start with small, manageable actions. While it's admirable to have big goals, trying to make dramatic changes all at once can be overwhelming and unsustainable. Instead, focus on creating implementation intentions for small habits that you can consistently perform. Over time, these small actions can compound into significant changes. Another powerful technique that builds on the concept of implementation intentions is habit stacking. This approach, popularized by B.J. Fogg, involves linking a new habit to an existing one. The formula for habit stacking is after current habit, I will new habit. For example, if you already have a habit of brewing coffee every morning, you might stack a new habit onto it. After I start the coffee maker, I will do 10 push-ups, or after I brush my teeth, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. By anchoring the new behavior to an established routine, you increase the likelihood of remembering to do it and create a natural flow from one action to the next. Habit stacking can be particularly effective because it doesn't require you to create entirely new routines. Instead, it allows you to build upon the habits and patterns already ingrained in your daily life. This makes the process of adopting new behaviors feel more natural and less disruptive. As you experiment with implementation intentions and habit stacking, it's important to remain flexible and patient. What works perfectly for one person might need adjustment for another. Pay attention to how your new habits fit into your life and be willing to make tweaks as needed. Perhaps you find that morning meditation doesn't work with your schedule, but a midday mindfulness break fits perfectly. The key is to find what works for you and your unique circumstances. It's also crucial to recognize that forming new habits takes time. While implementation intentions can significantly increase your chances of success, they're not magic. Consistency and repetition are still necessary to truly ingrain a new behavior. Be patient with yourself and celebrate the small victories along the way. One often overlooked aspect of habit formation is the importance of context. Our behaviors are heavily influenced by our environment, so it's worth considering how you can set up your surroundings to support your new habits. If you're trying to read more, keep a book visible in your living room. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. These small environmental cues can serve as powerful reminders and make it easier to follow through on your intentions. As you progress on your journey of habit formation, you may find that your new behaviors start to feel more natural and automatic. This is a sign that the habit is becoming ingrained. However, it's important not to become complacent. Continue to use implementation intentions and habit stacking to reinforce your positive behaviors and to tackle new goals. Remember, the process of personal growth and habit formation is ongoing. There will always be new skills to learn, new habits to form, and new goals to pursue. By mastering the art of implementation intentions and habit stacking, you're equipping yourself with powerful tools that can serve you throughout your life. In conclusion, the path to lasting behavior change begins with awareness and is paved with specific, actionable plans. By verbalizing our intentions, creating clear implementation intentions, and strategically stacking new habits onto existing ones, we can dramatically increase our chances of success. These techniques leverage our brain's natural tendencies and help us overcome the gap between intention and action. As you move forward, consider the habits you want to form or the goals you want to achieve. How can you create specific implementation intentions for these aspirations? What existing habits can you use as anchors for new behaviors? By applying these principles consistently and patiently, you can gradually reshape your daily routines and, by extension, your life. Remember, every great achievement starts with a single, well-planned step. Your journey to a better you begins now with the next habit you choose to implement. The power of habits and their interconnectedness in our daily lives is a fascinating subject that deserves deep exploration. Let's delve into how our possessions and behaviors can trigger chains of actions and how we can harness this phenomenon to build positive habits. Consider the story of Denis Diderot, the 18th century French philosopher. Upon receiving a beautiful scarlet robe as a gift, Diderot found himself in an unexpected predicament. The robe's elegance stood in stark contrast to his other, more modest possessions. This disparity created a sense of disharmony in his surroundings, leading Diderot to embark on a spending spree to upgrade his belongings. This cascade of purchases, triggered by a single item, illustrates a common human tendency now known as the Diderot effect. It's a pattern we can observe in various aspects of our lives. Think about the last time you bought a new piece of clothing. Did you find yourself suddenly eyeing accessories to match? Or perhaps you've experienced the domino effect of home decorating, where changing one element leads to a complete room makeover. The Diderot effect extends beyond material possessions. It's a principle that applies to our behaviors and habits as well. Our actions are rarely isolated instead. They form part of a continuous chain of events. One behavior naturally leads to another, creating a sequence that can either work for or against us. This interconnectedness of actions is evident in our daily routines. Consider your morning ritual. The alarm goes off. You get out of bed, brush your teeth, shower, get dressed, and so on. Each action serves as a cue for the next, creating a seamless flow of behaviors. Understanding this connection is crucial because it provides insight into how we can effectively build new habits. The concept of habit stacking, developed by B.J. Fogg as part of his Tiny Habits program, leverages this behavioral chain reaction. The idea is simple yet powerful: attach a new habit to an existing one. By doing so, you create a natural trigger for the new behavior, increasing the likelihood of its successful integration into your routine. The formula for habit stacking is straightforward. After current habit, I will new habit. This approach eliminates the need to rely on willpower or memory alone to implement a new habit. Instead, you're piggybacking on an established behavior, making the new habit feel like a natural extension of your existing routine. Let's explore some practical applications of habit stacking. Suppose you want to incorporate a brief meditation practice into your day. You might decide, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. The act of pouring coffee, something you already do every day, becomes the cue for your new meditation habit. Or consider the goal of increasing physical activity. You could establish the habit stack. After I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. This simple act of changing clothes can serve as a powerful trigger to get you moving, even on days when motivation is low. The beauty of habit stacking lies in its flexibility and scalability. You can start with small, manageable habits and gradually build more complex routines. For instance, you might begin with a simple evening routine. After dinner, I will put my dishes in the dishwasher. Once this becomes automatic, you can expand it. After putting my dishes away, I will wipe down the kitchen counter, and further, after wiping the counter, I will set out my coffee mug for tomorrow morning. By chaining these small actions together, you create a positive version of the Diderot effect. Each completed task provides a sense of accomplishment and momentum, making it easier to move on to the next action in your stack. It's important to note that the effectiveness of habit stacking depends on choosing the right cue. The trigger should be as specific and actionable as possible. Vague cues can lead to inconsistency and eventually the abandonment of the new habit. For example, when I take a break for lunch is less effective than when I close my laptop for lunch. The latter provides a clear, unmistakable signal to initiate the next action. Moreover, the frequency of your chosen cue should match the desired frequency of your new habit. If you want to establish a daily habit, it needs to be stacked on top of another daily occurrence. Attaching a daily habit to a weekly event is a recipe for inconsistency. To identify potential habit stacks, it can be helpful to create a detailed list of your current daily habits and routines. This inventory serves as a map of your day, highlighting natural points where new habits can be inserted. Consider both actions you take like brushing your teeth and events that happen to you like the sun setting. This comprehensive view of your day can reveal unexpected opportunities for habit formation. The power of habit stacking extends beyond personal development. It can be applied in various contexts, from improving social skills to managing finances. For instance, you might decide when I walk into a party, I will introduce myself to someone I don't know yet. Or when I want to buy something over $100, I will wait 24 hours before purchasing. These habit stacks can help automate beneficial behaviors, reducing the mental effort required to make good choices. One particularly intriguing application of habit stacking is in cultivating mindfulness and improving mood. By associating brief moments of reflection or positivity with routine actions, you can significantly impact your overall well-being. For example, when the phone rings, I will take one deep breath and smile before answering. This simple stack can transform potentially stressful moments into opportunities for calm and positivity. It's worth noting that habit stacking isn't just about adding new behaviors. It can also be used to break undesirable habits. By identifying the cues that trigger negative habits, you can insert alternative, positive actions. This approach allows you to redirect the chain of behaviors in a more beneficial direction. As you experiment with habit stacking, remember that flexibility and patience are key. What works for one person may not work for another, and what works at one point in your life may need adjustment as circumstances change. Be willing to tweak your habit stacks if they're not quite clicking. The goal is to create a system that feels natural and sustainable for you. Moreover, don't underestimate the power of small habits. While it might seem insignificant to meditate for just 1 minute or do only 10 push-ups, these small actions serve a crucial purpose. They help establish the neural pathways associated with the new behavior, making it easier to expand the habit over time. Starting small reduces the activation energy required to begin, making it more likely that you'll follow through consistently. Another interesting aspect of habit stacking is its potential to create a ripple effect in your life. As you successfully implement one positive habit, you may find yourself more motivated and capable of tackling other areas of self-improvement. This can lead to a virtuous cycle of personal growth, where each new habit builds upon the last, gradually transforming your daily routines and, by extension, your life. It's also worth considering how habit stacking can be applied in professional settings. Organizations can use this principle to improve workflows, enhance productivity, and foster a positive company culture. For instance, a team might implement a habit stack like, after our weekly meeting, we will spend 5 minutes acknowledging team members' contributions. This simple addition can boost morale and reinforce a culture of appreciation. As we navigate an increasingly complex world, the ability to form and maintain beneficial habits becomes ever more crucial. Habit stacking offers a powerful tool in this pursuit, allowing us to harness the natural flow of our daily lives to effect positive change. By understanding and applying this principle, we can transform the Diderot effect from a potential source of unnecessary consumption into a force for personal growth and improvement. In essence, habit stacking is about more than just forming new habits. It's about redesigning our lives in intentional ways. It's a reminder that our days are made up of countless small decisions and actions, each of which has the potential to steer us towards our goals. By carefully curating these actions and linking them together, we can create a daily experience that aligns more closely with our aspirations and values. As you move forward, consider the habits you'd like to cultivate in your own life. What existing routines could serve as anchors for these new behaviors? How might you chain several small habits together to create a more significant positive impact? Remember, the journey of personal growth is ongoing, and habit stacking provides a flexible, powerful framework to support this journey. By embracing the interconnected nature of our behaviors and leveraging it through habit stacking, we open up new possibilities for self-improvement. Whether your goal is to boost productivity, enhance well-being, or simply bring more intentionality to your daily life, this approach offers a practical, accessible path forward. So why not start today? Choose one small habit you'd like to cultivate, find a suitable existing routine to stack it on, and take that first step towards positive change. After all, as the Diderot effect shows us, one small change can set in motion a far-reaching transformation. In the realm of personal development and behavior change, we often place a great deal of emphasis on willpower and motivation. We believe that if we can just muster enough inner strength or find the right source of inspiration, we'll be able to transform our habits and achieve our goals. However, emerging research and real-world experiments are beginning to paint a different picture, one where our environment plays a far more significant role in shaping our actions than we might have previously thought. Consider the case of Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, where a primary care physician named Anne Thorndike conducted a fascinating experiment. Her hypothesis was simple yet revolutionary. She believed she could improve the eating habits of thousands of hospital staff and visitors without directly engaging with them or attempting to boost their motivation. Instead, she focused on altering the environment in which people made their food and drink choices. Thorndike and her team redesigned the hospital cafeteria, making subtle changes to the arrangement of food and drinks. They added water as an option in refrigerators that previously only contained soda, and placed baskets of bottled water near food stations throughout the room. The results were striking. Over a 3-month period, soda sales dropped by 11.4%, while bottled water sales increased by 25.8%. Similar adjustments to food placement yielded comparable results. What's particularly noteworthy about this experiment is that it achieved significant behavior change without any direct communication or motivational tactics. People's choices were influenced simply by the adjustment of their environment. This phenomenon highlights a crucial principle in behavior science. Our actions are often shaped more by our surroundings than by our internal drive or conscious decision-making. This concept isn't entirely new. Back in 1936, psychologist Kurt Lewin proposed a simple yet powerful equation: behavior is a function of the person in their environment, or BFPE. This formula suggests that our actions are not solely determined by our personality or intentions, but are significantly influenced by the context in which we find ourselves. The business world was quick to catch on to this idea. In 1952, economist Hawkins Stern described what he called suggestion impulse buying, where a shopper purchases a product not because they had a pre-existing need for it, but because of how it was presented to them. This insight has shaped retail strategies for decades. Items placed at eye level in stores tend to sell better than those on lower shelves. Expensive brands are often positioned in easy-to-reach locations, while cheaper alternatives are tucked away. End-of-aisle displays, known as end caps, are particularly effective at driving sales. For instance, a staggering 45% of Coca-Cola sales come from these strategic placements. The power of environmental cues extends far beyond retail settings. Our behavior in various contexts is often shaped by subtle environmental factors. In a church, people tend to speak in hushed tones without being explicitly told to do so. On a dark street, we become more alert and cautious. These behavioral shifts occur almost automatically in response to our surroundings. The understanding this principle can be transformative in our approach to habit formation and personal growth. Instead of relying solely on willpower or motivation, we can leverage our environment to support our desired behaviors. This approach is not only more effective but often requires less conscious effort. Consider how this might apply to common goals like reading more or eating healthier. Rather than simply willing ourselves to read more, we might place books in prominent locations around our home, making them the easiest entertainment option to reach for. Instead of trying to resist unhealthy snacks through sheer willpower, we could remove them from our immediate environment and ensure that healthier options are readily available. The concept of environmental design for behavior change is particularly powerful because of how our brains process information from our surroundings. Humans are heavily reliant on visual cues of the approximately 11 million sensory receptors in the human body. About 10 million are dedicated to sight. Some experts estimate that half of the brain's resources are used on vision. This means that what we see in our environment has an outsized impact on our behavior. Given this, it's crucial to create environments that support our goals and desired habits. This might involve setting up a dedicated workspace for productivity, organizing our kitchen to make healthy cooking easier, or even using visual reminders for important tasks or habits we want to cultivate. The good news is that while we are influenced by our environment, we also have the power to shape it. We can be the architects of our surroundings, deliberately designing them to support our goals and desired behaviors. This approach to behavior change is often more sustainable and less mentally taxing than relying on constant conscious effort. An interesting example of the power of environmental design comes from a study conducted in the Netherlands during the 1970s energy crisis. Researchers found that in one suburb, some homeowners used 30% less energy than their neighbors, despite living in similar homes and paying the same price for electricity. The key difference? The location of the electrical meter. Homes with the meter in the main hallway used significantly less electricity than those with meters in the basement. The visibility of energy usage in daily life was enough to influence behavior without any other intervention. This principle can be applied to various aspects of our lives. Want to drink more water? Keep a filled water bottle within arm's reach at all times. Trying to exercise more? Leave your workout clothes and shoes by your bed so they're the first thing you see in the morning. Want to eat more fruit? Keep a bowl of fresh fruit on your kitchen counter. The key is to make the cues for your desired habits obvious and the cues for undesired habits less visible. This might mean hiding the TV remote if you want to watch less television, or keeping your phone in another room if you're trying to reduce screen time. By manipulating your environment, you can make good habits easier and bad habits harder. It's important to note that while environmental design is powerful, it's not a magic solution. It works best when combined with other strategies for habit formation, such as setting clear intentions, starting with small, manageable changes, and being consistent in your efforts. The environment serves as a support system for your intentions, making it easier to follow through on your goals. Moreover, the most effective environmental designs are often personalized. What works for one person might not work for another. It's crucial to pay attention to your own behavior patterns and adjust your environment accordingly. This might involve some trial and error, but the process of refining your environment can be an enlightening journey of self-discovery. Another interesting aspect of environmental design is its potential for creating ripple effects. When you change one aspect of your environment to support a particular habit, you might find that it influences other behaviors as well. For instance, setting up a meditation corner in your home might not only increase your meditation practice but also lead to more reading or journaling time in that peaceful space. It's also worth considering how this principle applies in shared spaces or organizational settings. How might a company design its office to promote collaboration or creativity? How can a school arrange its classrooms to enhance learning? These are questions that move beyond individual habit formation and into the realm of collective behavior change. The concept of environmental design for behavior change also raises some ethical considerations. While it can be used for positive outcomes, like promoting healthier eating or energy conservation, it could potentially be misused for manipulation or to promote behaviors that aren't in people's best interests. As we become more aware of how our environment shapes our behavior, it's important to be mindful of who is designing the environments we inhabit and for what purpose. In conclusion, while motivation and willpower certainly have their place in behavior change, the role of our environment is often underestimated. By understanding and leveraging the power of environmental cues, we can create contexts that naturally support our desired behaviors and make positive changes more sustainable. Whether you're trying to build a new habit, break an old one, or simply optimize your daily routines, consider how you can design your environment to work for you rather than against you. Remember, you are not just a passive participant in your environment, you have the power to shape it. By becoming the architect of your surroundings, you can create a world that nudges you towards your goals and aspirations. This approach to personal growth and habit formation is not about forcing change through sheer will, but about creating an ecosystem that supports and nurtures the person you want to become. So, the next time you find yourself struggling to stick to a new habit or achieve a goal, take a step back and look at your environment. What cues are present? What behaviors does your current setup encourage or discourage? How might you adjust your surroundings to make your desired actions easier and more natural? By asking these questions and making deliberate changes to your environment, you can harness the invisible forces that shape behavior and use them to your advantage. In the end, lasting change often comes not from changing who you are, but from changing the world around you. By understanding and applying the principles of environmental design, you can create a context that supports your growth, makes your desired behaviors almost effortless, and helps you become the person you aspire to be. The power of our environment in shaping our behavior is often underestimated. We tend to believe that our actions are primarily driven by our willpower and conscious decisions, but the reality is far more nuanced. The spaces we inhabit and the objects that surround us play a crucial role in determining our habits and routines, often in ways we don't even realize. Consider for a moment the habits you'd like to cultivate or the ones you're struggling to break. Perhaps you want to read more books, exercise regularly, or cut down on snacking. Now, take a look around your living space. Are there visible cues that support these desired behaviors, or is your environment working against you? The truth is, every habit begins with a cue or trigger that initiates the behavior. When these cues are hidden or subtle, it becomes all too easy to ignore them and fall back into old patterns. Think about that guitar tucked away in the closet, rarely played because it's out of sight. Or the vitamins pushed to the back of the pantry, forgotten until they expire. These scenarios illustrate how our environment can inadvertently sabotage our best intentions. But what if we could harness this environmental influence to our advantage? By deliberately designing our spaces to support our goals, we can create a powerful ally in our quest for personal growth and habit formation. Let's explore a fascinating example from Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. In the early 1990s, the cleaning staff faced a persistent problem with spillage around the urinals in men's restrooms. Their solution was brilliantly simple. They added a small sticker that looked like a fly near the center of each urinal. This tiny environmental change had a remarkable effect. Men instinctively aimed at what they perceived to be an insect, significantly improving their accuracy and reducing mess. This clever design not only solved a practical problem but also cut cleaning costs by 8% annually. This example demonstrates the profound impact that small, strategic changes to our environment can have on behavior. It's not about forcing change through willpower alone, but about creating contexts that naturally guide us towards desired actions. Consider how this principle might apply to your own life. If you're trying to eat healthier, for instance, you could replicate the strategy I used with apples. Instead of hiding fruits and vegetables in the crisper drawer where they're easily forgotten, place them in a prominent bowl on the kitchen counter. This simple change makes healthy snacks the most visible and accessible option, increasing the likelihood that you'll reach for them instead of less nutritious alternatives. The key is to make the cues for your desired habits obvious and unavoidable. Want to remember to take your medication? Place the pill bottle next to your toothbrush. Aiming to practice an instrument more often? Set up the instrument stand in the middle of your living room. Hoping to express more gratitude? Keep thank you notes and stamps on your desk where you'll see them daily. By populating your environment with these visual reminders and cues, you're essentially programming your surroundings to prompt the behaviors you want to encourage. It's like setting up a series of friendly nudges throughout your day, each one gently steering you towards your goals. But the influence of our environment goes beyond just visual cues. The entire context surrounding a behavior can become associated with the habit over time. This is why many people drink more in social situations than they would alone. It's not just the presence of alcohol that triggers the behavior, but the whole atmosphere, the music, the friends, the setting. Understanding this context-dependent nature of habits opens up new strategies for change. If you're struggling to establish a new habit or break an old one, sometimes the most effective approach is to change your environment entirely. This is why people often find it easier to adopt new routines when they move to a new home or start a new job. The new context is free from the ingrained associations of the old one, providing a clean slate for establishing different patterns. However, you don't need to make a major life change to leverage this principle. Even small environmental shifts can be powerful. If you're trying to establish a writing habit, for example, you might designate a specific corner of your home as your writing spot. Use this space only for writing, and over time, your brain will begin to associate that location with the act of writing, making it easier to slip into a creative mindset when you sit down there. This strategy of associating specific context with specific behaviors can be applied to various areas of life. Having trouble falling asleep? Train yourself to use your bed only for sleeping. If you can't fall asleep within a reasonable time, get up and do something relaxing in another room until you feel tired. Over time, your brain will learn to associate your bed solely with sleep, making it easier to drift off when you lie down. The power of context in shaping our habits also highlights the importance of creating clear boundaries between different areas of our lives. In today's world, where many of us work from home, it's increasingly common for our professional and personal lives to blur together. This can make it difficult to switch off from work mode and fully relax. I experienced this challenge firsthand when I started my entrepreneurial career. Working from my couch or kitchen table, I found it nearly impossible to establish a clear end to my workday. The solution came when I was able to set up a dedicated home office. Suddenly, work became something that happened in a specific room, while the rest of my home was for personal life. This physical separation created a psychological boundary, making it much easier to transition between work and relaxation. This concept of one space, one use can be a powerful tool in organizing your life and habits. By assigning specific activities to specific areas, you create mental shortcuts that help you slip into the right mindset for each task. Your kitchen becomes a place for cooking and enjoying meals, your bedroom a sanctuary for rest, your desk a focus zone for work or study. When designing your environment to support your habits, it's crucial to think not just in terms of objects, but relationships. The items in your space aren't just things, they're potential triggers for behaviors. That comfortable armchair might be a reading nook for one person, but a TV watching spot for another. The associations we form with our surroundings are deeply personal and can significantly influence our actions. This perspective shift from seeing your environment as a collection of objects to a web of relationships can be transformative. It encourages you to be more intentional about how you interact with your space and the items in it. Each time you enter a room or use an object, you're reinforcing a particular behavior pattern. By being mindful of these interactions, you can start to reshape them in ways that align with your goals. Another powerful strategy is to increase the number of positive cues in your environment while decreasing negative ones. If you're trying to read more, for instance, You might place books in every room of your house, creating multiple reminders of your reading goal.
30 seconds
Conversely, if you're trying to watch less television, you could hide the remote control or even cover the TV when it's not in
I'll
use.
send flowers.
It's worth noting that our modern digital environments are just as influential as our physical ones, if not more so. The apps on our phone's home screen, the bookmarks in our browser, the notifications we allow, all of these act as cues that shape our behavior. Applying the principles of environmental design to our digital spaces can be incredibly powerful. Something as simple as rearranging your phone's apps to make productive tools more visible and distracting ones less accessible can have a significant impact on your daily habits. As you embark on this journey of environmental design, remember that it's an iterative process. What works for someone else might not work for you, and what works for you today might need adjustment in the future. Be willing to experiment, observe the results, and make changes as needed. The goal is to create an environment that feels natural and supportive, not one that feels forced or restrictive. It's also important to approach this process with self-compassion. Changing habits is challenging, and there will likely be setbacks along the way. Instead of viewing these as failures, see them as valuable data points that can inform your next iteration of environmental design. Ultimately, the power of environmental design lies in its ability to make desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors harder. By thoughtfully arranging your surroundings, you can create a world that naturally guides you towards your goals, reducing the need for constant willpower and conscious decision-making. This approach to personal growth and habit formation is about working smarter, not harder. It's about recognizing that we are not separate from our environment, but deeply interconnected with it. By becoming active designers of our spaces, both physical and digital, we can harness the subtle yet powerful forces that shape our daily actions. So take a moment to look around you. What story does your current environment tell about your habits and priorities? What changes could you make to better align your surroundings with your aspirations? Remember, you have the power to shape your world, and in doing so, to shape yourself. By creating spaces that support your goals and values, you're not just changing your environment, you're changing your life, one small cue at a time. The interplay between our environment and our habits is a fascinating area of study that challenges many long-held beliefs about willpower, addiction, and behavior change. To truly understand how we can shape our habits, and by extension, our lives, we need to delve into the subtle yet powerful ways our surroundings influence our actions. Let's begin with a startling discovery made during the Vietnam War. In 1971, Congressman Robert Steele and Morgan Murphy uncovered a shocking fact: over 15% of U.S. soldiers stationed in Vietnam were heroin addicts. Further research revealed that the problem was even more widespread, with up to 35% of service members having tried heroin and as many as 20% being addicted. This revelation sent shockwaves through Washington and led to the creation of the Special Action Office of Drug Abuse Prevention under President Nixon. The office was tasked with addressing this crisis, including tracking addicted service members upon their return home. What happened next would challenge everything we thought we knew about addiction. Researcher Lee Robbins, who was involved in studying these returning soldiers, made a groundbreaking discovery. Contrary to the prevailing belief that heroin addiction was a permanent, irreversible condition, Robbins found that only 5% of the soldiers who had used heroin in Vietnam became re-addicted within a year of returning home. Even more remarkably, only 12% relapsed within 3 years. This finding was revolutionary. It suggested that addiction wasn't solely about the substance or the individual's willpower. Instead, it pointed to the crucial role of environment in shaping and maintaining addictive behaviors. The soldiers in Vietnam were surrounded by cues that triggered heroin use: easy access to the drug, the constant stress of war, friendships with other users, and distance from their normal lives. When they returned home, these environmental triggers were absent, and for many the addiction simply faded away. This stands in stark contrast to the typical experience of drug users in the United States. When someone becomes addicted in their home environment, goes to a clinic to get clean, and then returns to their old neighborhood, they're immediately confronted with all the cues that originally led to their addiction. It's no wonder that relapse rates in these situations are often as high as 90%, the exact opposite of what was observed with the Vietnam veterans. These findings challenge our cultural narrative about bad habits and addiction. For decades, we've been told that unhealthy behaviors, whether it's drug addiction, overeating, or smoking, are primarily a result of moral weakness or lack of self-control. We've internalized the idea that if we just had more discipline, we could overcome any bad habit. However, recent research paints a different picture. When scientists study people who appear to have exceptional self-control, they find that these individuals aren't fundamentally different from those who struggle. The key difference is that people with high self-control are better at structuring their lives in ways that minimize temptation. In essence, they create environments that support their goals, reducing the need for constant willpower battles. This insight is profound. The people with the best self-control are often those who need to use it the least. They're not constantly resisting temptation, they're avoiding it altogether by shaping their environment. This doesn't mean that perseverance and willpower are unimportant. Rather, it suggests that the most effective way to improve these qualities is not by willing ourselves to be more disciplined, but by creating more disciplined environments. To understand why this approach is so powerful, we need to look at how habits are formed and encoded in the brain. Once a habit is established, it becomes a ready-to-use pattern of behavior that can be triggered whenever the relevant situation arises. This encoding is so strong that it can persist for decades, even if the habit isn't practiced. Consider the case of Patty Orwell, a therapist from Austin, Texas. When she was younger, she often smoked while riding horses with a friend. She eventually quit smoking and stopped riding horses. Years later, when she rode a horse again, she suddenly found herself craving a cigarette for the first time in ages. The association between horse riding and smoking was still encoded in her brain, just waiting for the right cue to reactivate it. This persistence of encoded habits explains why many behavior change techniques can backfire. When we expose people to cues associated with their bad habits, we can inadvertently trigger the very behaviors we're trying to stop. For example, shame-based weight loss presentations can stress obese individuals, leading them to turn to their familiar coping mechanism, overeating.
One enemy
Similarly,
remaining.
showing graphic images of damaged lungs to smokers can increase anxiety, driving them to reach for a cigarette to calm down. The power of environmental cues in triggering habits also explains why bad habits can be so persistent and self-reinforcing. They often create a negative feedback loop, what we might call an autocatalytic process. The habit feeds itself. You feel bad, so you eat junk food. Because you eat junk food, you feel bad, you feel sluggish from watching too much TV, so you continue watching because you lack the energy to do anything else. You worry about your health, which makes you anxious, so you smoke to ease the anxiety, which in turn worsens your health and increases your anxiety. It's a downward spiral that can feel impossible to escape. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for anyone looking to break bad habits or establish good ones. It highlights the importance of creating environments that support our goals rather than undermine them. This might mean removing temptations from our immediate surroundings, changing our routines to avoid triggering situations, or intentionally introducing cues that prompt positive behaviors. For instance, if you're trying to eat healthier, simply willing yourself to make better choices isn't enough. You need to reshape your food environment. This could involve removing junk food from your home, pre-preparing healthy meals, or changing your commute to avoid passing your favorite fast food restaurants. By reducing your exposure to unhealthy food cues and increasing healthy ones, you make it easier to stick to your goals without constantly battling temptation. Similarly, if you're aiming to be more productive, relying solely on willpower to ignore distractions is a losing battle. Instead, you might create a dedicated workspace free from the cues that trigger procrastination. This could mean working in a different room from where you relax, using website blockers during work hours, or even wearing specific work clothes that signal to your brain it's time to focus.
Just swapping in
The principle extends to digital environments as well. In our hyper-connected world, our devices often serve multiple, sometimes conflicting purposes. Your smartphone might be both a vital work tool and your primary source of entertainment. This mixing of contexts can make it challenging to maintain focus or avoid procrastination. One strategy to combat this is to create distinct digital environments for different purposes. For example, you might use your computer solely for work, your tablet for reading, and your phone for communication and social media. By separating these contexts, you create clearer cues for your brain about what behavior is appropriate in each situation. This approach of creating distinct environments for different habits is powerful, but it can be challenging in practice, especially for those living in small spaces or with limited resources. However, even in constrained circumstances, it's possible to create activity zones within a single space. A specific chair might be designated for reading, a particular corner for meditation, or a certain table for focused work. The key is consistency. By repeatedly using these spaces for their designated purposes, you strengthen the association between the environment and the desired behavior. It's worth noting that while changing your environment can be a powerful tool for habit change, it's not a magic solution. Old habits don't disappear, they remain encoded in our brains, waiting for the right cues to reactivate them. This is why people who have quit smoking for years might suddenly crave a cigarette in a high-stress situation, or why someone who has maintained a healthy diet might binge on food during a particularly emotional time. The persistence of these encoded habits underscores the importance of ongoing environmental management. It's not enough to create a supportive environment once we need to continually reinforce it and be mindful of potential triggers. This might mean avoiding certain situations entirely, having strategies in place for when we can't avoid triggers, or regularly reassessing and adjusting our environment as our goals and circumstances change.
You will not kill
Moreover,
my ally.
it's crucial to recognize that our environment extends beyond our physical surroundings. Our social connections, daily routines, and even our internal dialogue all form part of the context that shapes our habits. Changing habits often requires addressing these aspects as well. This might involve seeking out new social circles that support our goals, establishing routines that reinforce positive behaviors, or working on our self-talk to create a more supportive internal environment. The implications of this environmental approach to habit change are far-reaching. On a personal level, it offers a more compassionate and effective way to approach self-improvement. Rather than berating ourselves for lack of willpower, we can focus on creating environments that make
Spike
good
down
habits
A.
easier and bad habits harder. This shift in perspective can reduce shame and increase our sense of
Last
agency in
player
shaping our
standing.
behaviors.
30 seconds left.
On a broader scale, this understanding has significant implications for public health and policy. Instead of relying solely on education or willpower-based interventions, we should be focusing on creating environments that naturally promote healthier choices. This could involve urban planning that encourages physical activity, workplace designs that reduce stress and promote well-being, or food policies that make healthy options more accessible and affordable. In conclusion, the secret to self-control and lasting habit change lies not in Herculean feats of willpower, but in the thoughtful design of our environment. By understanding the powerful role that context plays in shaping our behavior, we can create surroundings that naturally guide us towards our goals. This approach doesn't eliminate the need for effort or commitment, but it does make the path of positive change much smoother and more sustainable. As we navigate the complexities of modern life with its myriad distractions and temptations, this environmental perspective on habit formation becomes increasingly valuable. It empowers us to be active architects of our own behavior, shaping our surroundings to
Spike
support the
planted.
person we aspire to be. Whether we're trying to break a bad habit, establish a good one, or simply live more intentionally, the key often lies in the world we create around us. By mastering our environment, we can master
Last player
ourselves.
standing.
Habits are powerful shapers of our identities and lives. Each action we take, no matter how small, serves as a vote for the type of person we aspire to be. When we finish reading a book, we cast a vote for being someone who values knowledge and literature. When we hit the gym, we're voting for a health-conscious identity. Practicing an instrument is a vote for musicianship. These individual actions may seem insignificant in isolation, but over time they accumulate into compelling evidence of who we are becoming. This perspective on habit formation offers a refreshing take on personal growth. It suggests that meaningful change doesn't necessarily require drastic measures or overnight transformations. Instead, it's the consistent, small habits that can make a profound difference by gradually building up evidence of a new identity. This is the paradox of incremental improvement. What seems like minor progress can actually lead to significant change when viewed through the lens of identity formation. Consider how this plays out in various aspects of life.
Let's play.
Each time you put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, you reinforce your identity as a writer. Every practice session with a musical instrument strengthens your musician identity. Starting a workout, regardless of its intensity or duration, is an affirmation of your athletic self. When you take the time to encourage and support your team members, you're cementing your role as a leader. But the impact of these habits goes beyond just achieving specific outcomes or developing skills. Perhaps more importantly, they teach us to trust ourselves.
Planted.
As we consistently follow through on our intentions, we begin to believe in our ability to accomplish our goals. This growing self-trust is a powerful force that can propel us forward in all areas of life. It's crucial to recognize that this process works both ways. Just as positive habits reinforce desirable identities, negative habits can solidify less desirable ones. Every time we give in to procrastination, for instance, we're casting a vote for being someone who lacks discipline. When we choose unhealthy foods over nutritious options, we're voting for an identity that doesn't prioritize well-being.
Switching sides.
However, the good news is that perfection isn't necessary. In any election, there are always votes for both sides. The key is to win the majority. This means that occasional slip-ups or bad habits don't negate our progress, as long as we're consistently making choices that align with our desired identity more often than not.
Reloading.
This understanding of habit formation as identity shaping leads us to a simple but powerful two-step process for personal transformation. First, we must decide on the type of person we want to become. Then, we prove it to ourselves through small, consistent wins. The first step, deciding who we want to be, is arguably the most challenging. It requires deep introspection and honesty about our values, principles, and aspirations. This applies not just to individuals, but to teams, communities, and even nations. What do we stand for? What principles guide our actions? Who do we aspire to become? For many, these questions can feel overwhelming. It's often easier to focus on specific outcomes we want to achieve: losing weight, reducing anxiety, or increasing our income. While these goals are valid starting points, the key is to work backward from these desired results to the type of person who could achieve them. Who is the kind of person that maintains a healthy weight? Who embodies the calm and centeredness we associate with low anxiety? Who has the skills, mindset, and habits that lead to financial success? This shift in focus from outcome-based thinking to identity-based thinking can be transformative. Instead of fixating on writing a book, we concentrate on becoming the type of person who writes consistently. Rather than obsessing over a target weight, we focus on embodying the habits and mindset of a healthy person. This approach aligns our daily actions with our deepest values and aspirations. Once we've clarified our desired identity, the second step is to reinforce it through small, consistent actions. These don't need to be grand gestures or dramatic changes. In fact, it's often the seemingly insignificant choices that have the most profound impact over time. Choosing to walk instead of drive, opting for a salad over fast food, or spending 10 minutes reading before bed, these small decisions, repeated consistently, shape our identity far more than occasional bursts of motivation or short-lived resolutions. This process creates a powerful feedback loop. Our habits shape our identity, and our identity, in turn, influences our habits. As we consistently act in alignment with our desired identity, we strengthen our belief in that identity, which makes it easier to maintain those habits. This virtuous cycle can lead to profound and lasting change.
Plant the spike.
It's important to note that this approach to habit formation and personal growth is not about
One
achieving
enemy
specific
remaining.
external measures of success. While habits can certainly help us reach goals like earning more money, losing weight, or reducing stress, their true value lies in their ability to shape our identity. They are the means through which we develop and reinforce our deepest beliefs about ourselves.
What's the plan?
This perspective on habits offers a more holistic and sustainable approach to personal development. Instead of chasing fleeting goals or external validation, we focus on becoming the type of person we aspire to be. This shift in focus can lead to more meaningful and lasting change as our actions become aligned with our core values and desired identity. Moreover, this approach to habit formation acknowledges the fluid nature of identity. We are not fixed entities, but rather dynamic beings capable of growth and change. Our identity is not set in stone, it's a choice we make in every moment through our actions and habits. This realization is empowering, as it puts the power of change squarely in our own
One enemy
hands.
remaining.
The process of identity-based habit formation also highlights the importance of patience and consistency.
Reloading.
Meaningful change doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of countless small actions and decisions made consistently over time. This understanding can help us stay committed to our goals, even when progress seems slow or setbacks occur. Additionally, this approach to personal growth encourages a more compassionate attitude towards ourselves. Instead of berating ourselves for failures or slip-ups, we can view them as part of the natural process of change. As long as we're winning the majority of the time, casting more votes for our desired identity than against it, we're moving in the right direction. This perspective on habits and identity formation has implications beyond individual growth. It can be applied to organizational change, community development, and even societal transformation. By focusing on the type of organization, community, or society we want to be, and consistently taking actions that align with that vision, we can create meaningful change on a larger scale. In conclusion, the power of habits lies not just in their ability to help us achieve specific goals, but in their capacity to shape our very identity. By focusing on who we want to become rather than what we want to achieve, we can create more meaningful and lasting change in our lives. Through consistent small actions, we cast votes for our desired identity, gradually becoming the person we aspire to be. This process of continuous self-evolution, guided by our deepest values and aspirations, is the true essence of personal growth and fulfillment. As we align our habits with our desired identity, we not only improve our lives but also contribute to positive change in our communities and the world at large.
Satchel out.
The human brain is a remarkable organ,
Spike
constantly
down,
adapting
B.
and evolving to help us navigate the complexities of life. One of its most fascinating abilities is the formation of habits, automatic behaviors that allow us to function efficiently in our daily lives. Understanding how habits form and why they're so crucial to our success can provide
Last player
valuable
standing.
insights into human behavior and personal growth.
One enemy remaining.
Let's start by exploring the fundamental nature of habits. At their core, habits are behaviors that have been repeated so frequently that they become automatic. This process of habit formation begins with a period of trial and error, much like the experiences of the cats in Edward Thorndike's famous puzzle box experiments. When we encounter a new situation or challenge, our brain must decide how to respond. Initially, we may feel uncertain, trying different approaches to see what works best. This period is characterized by high neurological activity as our brain carefully analyzes the situation, taking in new information and making conscious decisions about how to act. Through this process of exploration, we occasionally stumble upon a solution that works well, a behavior that solves our problem or provides a reward. Perhaps we discover that going for a run helps alleviate anxiety, or that playing video games after work helps us unwind from a stressful day. These discoveries are pivotal moments in habit formation. Once we experience an unexpected reward, our brain immediately begins to take notice. It starts cataloging the events that preceded the reward, trying to identify the actions that led to this positive outcome. This is the essence of learning. Our brain is constantly seeking to understand cause-effect relationships in our
One
environment.
enemy remaining.
With repeated practice, our brain refines this process. Useless actions fade away, while beneficial behaviors are reinforced. This is how a habit begins to take shape. Over time, what once required conscious effort becomes automatic, a reliable solution to a recurring problem in our environment. As habits form, an interesting neurological shift occurs. The level of brain activity actually decreases. This is because our brain has learned to focus on the cues that predict success and ignore everything else. It creates a mental shortcut. If this situation arises, then perform this action. This cognitive script can be followed automatically whenever the appropriate situation presents itself. This automation is incredibly beneficial from an evolutionary perspective. Habits are, in essence, mental shortcuts learned from experience. They allow us to efficiently solve problems we've encountered before without having to analyze the situation anew each time. This frees up our conscious mind, the bottleneck of the brain, to focus on novel challenges and more complex tasks. The formation of habits follows a consistent pattern that can be broken down into four key stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. Understanding this pattern can provide valuable insights into how we can shape our own behavior and build positive habits. The process begins with a cue, a bit of information that predicts a reward. In our ancestral environment, these cues might have signaled the location of food, water, or potential mates. Today, we're more often attuned to cues that predict secondary rewards like money, status, approval, or personal satisfaction. Importantly, these modern pursuits still indirectly improve our odds of survival and reproduction, tapping into our deepest evolutionary motivations. The cue triggers a craving, the motivational force behind every habit. Without some level of motivation or desire, we have no reason to act. What we crave is not the habit itself, but the change in state it delivers. We don't crave smoking a cigarette. We crave the feeling of relief it provides. We don't crave watching TV. We crave the entertainment and relaxation it offers. The response is the actual habit you perform, which can take the form of a thought or an action. Whether a response occurs depends on how motivated you are and how much friction is associated with the behavior. If a particular action requires more physical or mental effort than you're willing to expend, you won't do it. Finally, the reward is the end goal of every habit. We chase rewards because they satisfy our cravings and teach us which actions are worth remembering in the future. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. The response is about obtaining the reward. In fact, we can understand the entire habit loop as a continuous cycle aimed at reward acquisition. This four-stage pattern plays out in countless ways in our daily lives, often without our conscious awareness. For instance, consider the habit of checking your phone. The cue might be a notification sound or simply feeling bored. This triggers a craving for distraction or connection. The response is to pick up your phone and check your apps. The reward is the momentary entertainment or social connection you experience. Understanding this pattern can be incredibly empowering. It allows us to dissect our existing habits and intentionally shape new ones. By manipulating the cues in our environment, managing our cravings, simplifying our desired responses, and enhancing the rewards associated with positive behaviors, we can effectively rewire our habits. However, it's crucial to recognize that habit formation is not about achieving perfection. It's about winning the majority of the time. Every action is a vote for the type of person you want to become. You don't need a unanimous vote to win an election, you just need a majority. Therefore, it's okay if you make a mistake or slip up occasionally. The goal is to tally up enough votes for your desired identity over time.
Grenade!
This perspective on habit formation offers a more compassionate and realistic approach to personal growth.
Crossing.
Instead of beating ourselves up over occasional failures, we can focus on consistently making choices that align with our desired identity more often than not. Moreover, this approach to habit formation acknowledges the fluid nature of identity. We are not fixed entities, but dynamic
One
beings
enemy
capable of
remaining.
growth and change. Our identity emerges from our habits, and our habits shape our identity in turn. This creates a powerful feedback loop that can lead to profound personal transformation over time. It's worth noting that while habits can be incredibly
Last player
beneficial,
standing.
some people worry that too much routine might make life dull or restrict their freedom. However, this concern sets up a false dichotomy between habits and freedom.
We're here because we're
In reality, good habits create freedom by automating the mundane aspects of life, freeing up mental resources for more important tasks and decisions. Consider financial habits, for instance. Good financial habits like regularly saving a portion of your income or tracking your expenses might seem restrictive in the short term. However, these habits ultimately create more freedom by providing financial stability and options in the long run. Similarly, good health habits might require some discipline initially, but they provide the energy and vitality needed to fully engage in life's experiences. In essence, habits are tools that can be leveraged to create the life we desire. They are not about restricting our choices, but about aligning our automatic behaviors with our deepest values and aspirations. By thoughtfully cultivating positive habits, we can automate the fundamentals of life, creating the mental space needed for creativity, growth, and the pursuit of our most meaningful goals. It's also important to recognize that habits exist on a spectrum of automaticity. Some habits are so ingrained that they occur completely without conscious thought, while others may require some level of intentionality, especially in their early stages of formation. This spectrum allows for flexibility in how we approach habit formation and modification. Furthermore, habits don't exist in isolation. They are part of larger systems in our lives, often interconnected in complex ways. A single keystone habit can trigger a cascade of positive changes across various areas of life. For example, developing a regular exercise habit might lead to better eating choices, improved sleep, increased productivity, and enhanced mood. As we deepen our understanding of habits, we can also appreciate their role in shaping not just individual lives, but entire societies. Collective habits form the basis of culture, and changing societal norms often involves shifting the habits of many individuals.
Go get him.
This perspective highlights the profound impact that personal habit change can have on a larger scale.
Spike down.
In
B.
conclusion, habits are far more than just repetitive behaviors. They are the building blocks of our identities, the shapers of our
Last
daily
player
experiences, and the determinants of our long-term outcomes. By understanding the science of habit formation and leveraging this knowledge in our lives, we can take conscious control of our automatic behaviors, aligning them with our deepest values and aspirations. This journey of habit formation and identity shaping is not about achieving perfection or adhering to rigid routines. Instead, it's about making consistent, small choices that compound over time, gradually sculpting us into the individuals we aspire to be. It's a process of continuous growth and refinement, where each small action is a vote for our desired identity. As we navigate this process, it's crucial to approach it with patience, self-compassion, and a long-term perspective.
Phoenix kill.
Meaningful change doesn't happen overnight, but through the accumulation of many small, consistent actions over time. By focusing on the process rather than just the outcome, we can find joy and fulfillment in the journey of personal growth itself. Ultimately, mastering our habits is about taking control of our own evolution. It's about consciously shaping our behaviors, our identities, and by extension, our lives. In doing so, we don't just change our routines, we change our worlds,
Last player
opening up
standing.
new possibilities and creating the freedom to live life on our own terms. The intricate workings of human behavior have long fascinated scientists, psychologists, and individuals seeking personal growth. At the heart of our daily actions lies a powerful force: habits. these automated behaviors shape our lives in profound ways,
point.
often operating below the surface of our conscious awareness.
Let's win and get out of here.
Understanding the mechanics of habit formation can unlock the potential for meaningful personal change and growth. At its core, every habit follows a predictable pattern, a loop that consists of 4 key stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. This habit loop is not just a theoretical construct, but a neurological reality that plays out countless times each day in our lives. The journey of a habit begins with a cue. This is a trigger, a bit of information that predicts a potential reward. In our modern world, cues can take many forms: the ping of a smartphone notification, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, or the sight of your running shoes by the door. These cues are neutral in themselves, but they have the power to set the habit loop in motion. What transforms a simple cue into a catalyst for action is the second stage of the habit loop: craving. This is where things get interesting from a psychological perspective. Contrary to what we might assume, we don't actually crave the habit itself. Rather, we crave the change in state that the habit promises to deliver. For instance, when you see a notification on your phone, you don't crave the act of checking your phone itself. What you truly desire is the potential nugget of information, the connection, or the momentary distraction it might provide. When you smell coffee, you're not longing for the liquid itself, but for the alertness and comfort it represents. This distinction is crucial because it highlights the emotional and psychological underpinnings of our habits. Cravings are highly personal and can vary dramatically from one individual to another. What triggers an intense desire in one person might be entirely insignificant to another. This is why understanding your own cravings is a key step in mastering your habits. The sound of slot machines might ignite an irresistible urge in a habitual gambler, while for others, it's merely background noise. The interpretation of cues, colored by our past experiences, emotions, and current state, is what transforms them into cravings.
Spike down A.
The third stage of the habit loop is the response. This is the actual habit you perform, which can be a physical action or a mental process. However, a response only occurs if 2 conditions are met: sufficient motivation and the ability to perform the action. If an action requires more effort than you're willing to expend, or if it's beyond your capabilities, the habit loop breaks down at this stage. This insight offers a powerful lever for habit change. By increasing or decreasing the effort required to perform a habit, we can influence whether it occurs. Want to read more? Leave a book on your bedside table. Trying to cut down on social media? Log out of your accounts after each use, adding a small barrier to mindless scrolling. The final stage of the habit loop is the reward. This is the end goal of every habit, the payoff that satisfies the craving and completes the cycle. Rewards serve a dual purpose. They provide immediate gratification, and they teach us which actions are worth repeating in the future.
Switching sides. Match point.
The immediate satisfaction of a craving is what makes habits so powerful. When you check your phone and find an interesting message, the brief moment of entertainment or connection reinforces the habit. When you take a sip of coffee and feel that first jolt of caffeine, your brain logs that action as worth repeating. But rewards do more than just satisfy momentary desires. They play a crucial role in the learning process that underlies habit formation. Our brains are essentially reward detectors, constantly scanning our experiences to identify which actions lead to pleasurable outcomes. This feedback mechanism helps us distinguish between useful and useless behaviors, gradually shaping our habits over time. Understanding this 4-stage habit loop provides a framework for analyzing and modifying our behaviors. If any of these 4 components is insufficient, a behavior will fail to become a habit. Without a clear cue, a habit won't start. Without a strong enough craving, there's no motivation to act. If the response is too difficult, it won't be performed. And if the reward fails to satisfy, there's no reason to repeat the behavior. This loop isn't just an occasional occurrence, it's an endless cycle that's running every moment we're alive. Our brains are constantly scanning the environment, predicting outcomes, trying responses, and learning from the results. Most of the time, this process happens so quickly and automatically that we're not even aware of it.
Spike planted.
We can think of the habit loop as
Last
having
player
two
standing.
distinct phases: the problem phase and the solution phase.
My ult's ready.
The problem phase, which includes the cue and craving, is when we recognize that something needs to change. The solution phase, comprising the response
One
and
enemy
reward,
remaining.
is when we take action to bring about that change. This perspective illuminates a fundamental truth about human behavior. All of our actions are ultimately driven by the desire to solve problems. Sometimes the problem is that we notice something good and want to obtain it. Other
Switching
times we're
sides.
experiencing discomfort and want to alleviate it. In either case, habits form as our
Overtime.
brains learn efficient ways to address these recurring situations.
Time to take these arms for a spin.
Consider some common scenarios. You hear your phone buzz cue, which triggers a desire to know what the message says, craving. You pick up your phone and read the text response, satisfying your curiosity reward. Or perhaps you're working on a challenging project queue and start to feel overwhelmed, craving for relief. You might bite your nails response as a way to relieve stress, reward. These examples illustrate how deeply ingrained habits can become. By the time we reach adulthood, many of our habits are so automatic that we hardly notice them. We don't think about which shoe we tie first in the morning, or the fact that we always turn right when we leave our driveway. These patterns of behavior have become so deeply encoded in our neural pathways that they occur without conscious thought. This automaticity is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it allows us to navigate much of our daily lives efficiently, freeing up mental resources for more complex tasks. On the other hand, it can lead us to perpetuate behaviors that may not serve us well in the long run. The key to harnessing the power of habits lies in becoming
One
more
enemy
aware of
remaining.
these automatic processes. By shining a light on the cues that trigger our behaviors, the cravings that drive them, the responses
Last
we've
player
learned,
standing.
and the rewards we receive, we can begin to exert more conscious control over our actions. This doesn't mean we need to eliminate automaticity altogether. That would be exhausting and counterproductive. Instead, the goal is to ensure that our automatic behaviors are aligned with our long-term goals and
Switching
values.
sides. Match
We
point.
want to cultivate habits that serve us, not ones that hinder our growth or happiness. Changing habits isn't easy, but understanding the habit loop gives us a roadmap for transformation. We can work on each component of the loop to reshape our behaviors. 1. Cues. We can manage our environment to reduce exposure to cues that trigger undesirable habits and increase exposure to cues that prompt positive behaviors. 2. Cravings. We can reframe our mental associations to link desired behaviors with positive emotions and outcomes. 3. Response. We can make good habits easier to do and bad habits more difficult, tilting the scales in favor of positive
Spike
behaviors.
down B.
4. Rewards. We can engineer immediate rewards for good habits to make them more satisfying in the short term.
Last player standing.
It's important to note that habit change is not about achieving perfection. It's about consistently making choices that align with the person we want to become. Every action is a vote for the type of person we wish to be. We don't need to win every vote, but we need to win the majority to see real change. Moreover, habits don't exist in isolation. They're part of larger systems in our lives, often interconnected in complex ways. Changing one habit can have ripple effects, influencing other behaviors and aspects of our lives. This interconnectedness can work in our favor sometimes. Changing one keystone habit can lead to a cascade of positive changes across various areas of life. As we work on our habits, it's crucial to approach the process with patience and self-compassion. Habit formation and change take time. Our brains require repeated experiences to forge new neural pathways and strengthen them to the point of automaticity. This process can't be rushed, but it can be guided. It's also worth considering the broader implications of habit formation beyond individual behavior. Collective habits form the basis of culture, and societal change often involves shifting the habits of many individuals. By understanding and mastering our own habits, we not only improve our personal lives but potentially contribute to positive changes on a larger scale. In conclusion, the science of habit formation offers powerful insights into human behavior and personal growth. By understanding the habit loop of cue, craving, response, and reward, we gain a framework for analyzing and modifying our automatic behaviors. This knowledge empowers us to shape our habits intentionally, aligning our automatic behaviors with our deepest values and aspirations. The journey of habit change is not about achieving perfection or adhering to rigid routines. It's about making consistent, small choices that compound over time, gradually sculpting us into the individuals we aspire to be. It's a process of continuous growth and refinement, where each small action is a vote for our desired identity. As we navigate this process, we must approach it with patience, self-compassion, and a long-term perspective. Meaningful change doesn't happen overnight, but through the accumulation of many small, consistent actions over time. By focusing on the process rather than just the outcome, we can find joy and fulfillment in the journey of personal growth itself. Ultimately, mastering our habits is about taking control of our own evolution. It's about consciously shaping our behaviors, our identities, and by extension, our lives. In doing so, we don't just change our routines, we change our worlds, opening up new possibilities and creating the freedom to live life on our own terms. The power of habit formation lies not just in its ability to automate our behaviors, but in its potential to transform who we are and who we can become. The human mind is a marvel of efficiency, constantly working to streamline our experiences and behaviors. At the heart of this process lies the formation of habits, automatic behaviors that allow us to navigate the complexities of daily life with minimal conscious effort. Understanding the mechanics of habit formation not only provides fascinating insights into human behavior, but also offers powerful tools for personal growth and transformation. The foundation of habit formation rests on a simple yet profound four-step process: cue, craving, response, and reward. This habit loop is the backbone of every habit, from the most trivial to the most impactful. By understanding and manipulating these four components, we gain the ability to shape our behaviors intentionally, cultivating habits that serve our goals and dismantling those that hinder us. Let's delve deeper into each stage of the habit loop and explore how we can leverage this knowledge to create positive change in our lives. The cue is the trigger that initiates a habit. It can be anything in our environment that our brain associates with a particular behavior. The ping of a smartphone notification, the smell of coffee in the morning, or the sight of your running shoes by the door, these are all potential cues that set a habit in motion. Importantly, cues are neutral in themselves. It's our interpretation of them that gives them power. To harness the power of cues, we need to make them obvious for habits we want to cultivate and invisible for those we wish to break. This might involve strategically placing items in our environment to prompt desired behaviors or removing triggers that lead to unwanted actions. For instance, if you want to read more, leaving a book on your bedside table creates a clear cue. Conversely, if you're trying to cut down on social media use, keeping your phone out of sight while working can help reduce the temptation to check it constantly. The craving is the motivational force behind every habit. It's not the habit itself that we crave, but the change in state it promises. When we see a notification on our phone, we don't actually crave the act of checking it, we crave the potential nugget of information or connection it might provide. Understanding this distinction is crucial, because it highlights the emotional and psychological underpinnings of our habits. To make habits more attractive, we can bundle them with activities we already enjoy or reframe them to highlight their benefits. For example, if you struggle to exercise regularly, you might pair your workout with listening to your favorite podcast, creating a more appealing package. Alternatively, you could focus on the immediate benefits of exercise, like increased energy and improved mood, rather than distant goals like weight loss. The response is the actual habit you perform. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. For a habit to form, The response must be possible. You need to have the ability to do it. This insight offers another lever for habit change. By manipulating the ease or difficulty of a behavior, we can influence whether it becomes a habit. To encourage good habits, we should strive to make them as easy as possible. This might involve breaking them down into smaller, more manageable steps or reducing friction in our environment. For instance, if you want to start a journaling habit, you might leave a notebook and pen on your desk each night, reducing the effort required to begin writing in the morning. Conversely, to break bad habits, we can introduce friction or make them more difficult. If you're trying to cut down on late-night snacking, you might put healthy snacks at eye level in your fridge and store less healthy options in hard-to-reach places. The reward is the end goal of every habit, the payoff that satisfies our craving and teaches us which actions are worth repeating. The most effective rewards are those that provide immediate satisfaction while also aligning with our long-term goals. To reinforce good habits, we need to make them satisfying. This might involve celebrating small wins or tracking our progress visually. For example, marking off days on a calendar when you complete a desired habit can provide a sense of accomplishment and motivation to continue. For breaking bad habits, we can make them unsatisfying by attaching immediate negative consequences. This could be as simple as telling a friend about your goal and agreeing to pay them a small amount each time you slip up. These 4 laws of behavior change make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying, provide a powerful framework for shaping our habits. However, it's important to remember that habit formation is not just about willpower or discipline. It's about creating systems that make good behaviors inevitable and bad behaviors impossible. Consider the story of the paramedic who recognized the signs of an impending heart attack in her father-in-law, despite him feeling fine. This illustrates a fascinating aspect of human cognition, our ability to recognize patterns and make predictions based on subtle cues, often without conscious awareness. Through years of experience, the paramedic had unknowingly developed the ability to recognize the facial patterns associated with heart problems. Her brain had catalogued these cues, creating an automatic response system that allowed her to identify potential issues quickly. This phenomenon isn't unique to medical professionals. Similar stories abound in various fields. Military analysts can distinguish between friendly and enemy aircraft on radar screens based on minute differences. Art curators can spot forgeries that fool even sophisticated tests. Experienced radiologists can predict where a stroke will develop before any obvious signs are visible. These examples highlight the incredible pattern recognition capabilities of the human brain. Our minds are constantly taking in information from our surroundings, analyzing it, and making predictions. With enough repetition, we begin to notice important cues automatically, without conscious thought. This automatic processing is the foundation of every habit we have. It's what allows us to perform complex behaviors without actively thinking about each step. Consider how you don't need to consciously think about each muscle movement involved in driving a car or typing on a keyboard. These actions have become habitual, freeing up mental resources for other tasks. However, this automaticity is a double-edged sword. While it makes many aspects of our lives more efficient, it can also lead us to fall into patterns of behavior that may not serve us well. We might find ourselves reaching for our phones every time we feel a moment of boredom, or automatically grabbing a snack when we pass the kitchen, even if we're not hungry. The key to harnessing the power of habits while avoiding their potential pitfalls lies in becoming more aware of our automatic behaviors. By shining a light on the cues that trigger our habits, the cravings that drive them, the responses we've learned, and the rewards we receive, we can begin to exert more conscious control over our actions. This doesn't mean we need to eliminate automaticity altogether. That would be exhausting and counterproductive. Instead, the goal is to ensure that our automatic behaviors are aligned with our long-term goals and values. We want to cultivate habits that serve us, not ones that hinder our growth or happiness. It's important to note that habit change is not about achieving perfection. It's about consistently making choices that align with the person we want to become. Every action is a vote for the type of person we wish to be. We don't need to win every vote, but we need to win the majority to see real change. Moreover, habits don't exist in isolation. They're part of larger systems in our lives, often interconnected in complex ways. Changing one habit can have ripple effects, influencing other behaviors and aspects of our lives. This interconnectedness can work in our favor sometimes. Changing one keystone habit can lead to a cascade of positive changes across various areas of life. As we work on our habits, it's crucial to approach the process with patience and self-compassion. Habit formation and change take time. Our brains require repeated experiences to forge new neural pathways and strengthen them to the point of automaticity. This process can't be rushed, but it can be guided. It's also worth considering the broader implications of habit formation beyond individual behavior. Collective habits form the basis of culture, and societal change often involves shifting the habits of many individuals. By understanding and mastering our own habits, we not only improve our personal lives but potentially contribute to positive changes on a larger scale. In conclusion, the science of habit formation offers powerful insights into human behavior and personal growth. By understanding the habit loop of cue, craving, response, and reward, and applying the 4 laws of behavior change, we gain a framework for analyzing and modifying our automatic behaviors. This knowledge empowers us to shape our habits intentionally, aligning our automatic behaviors with our deepest values and aspirations. The journey of habit change is not about achieving perfection or adhering to rigid routines. It's about making consistent, small choices that compound over time, gradually sculpting us into the individuals we aspire to be. It's a process of continuous growth and refinement, where each small action is a vote for our desired identity. As we navigate this process, we must approach it with patience, self-compassion, and a long-term perspective. Meaningful change doesn't happen overnight, but through the accumulation of many small, consistent actions over time. By focusing on the process rather than just the outcome, we can find joy and fulfillment in the journey of personal growth itself. Ultimately, mastering our habits is about taking control of our own evolution. It's about consciously shaping our behaviors, our identities, and by extension, our lives. In doing so, we don't just change our routines, we change our worlds, opening up new possibilities and creating the freedom to live life on our own terms. The power of habit formation lies not just in its ability to automate our behaviors, but in its potential to transform who we are and who we can become. In our fast-paced world, we often find ourselves operating on autopilot, our actions guided by deeply ingrained habits that we may not even be consciously aware of. These habits, whether beneficial or detrimental, shape our daily lives and ultimately determine our long-term outcomes. Understanding and harnessing the power of habits is crucial for personal growth and achieving our goals. Consider the story of a retail clerk who, after a series of transactions involving gift cards, absent-mindedly cut a customer's actual credit card in half. Or the former preschool teacher who, even in her new corporate job, couldn't shake the habit of asking co-workers if they had washed their hands after using the bathroom. These anecdotes illustrate how deeply ingrained our habits can become, often operating below the level of conscious awareness. The power of habits lies in their ability to automate our behaviors, freeing up mental resources for more complex tasks. However, this same automaticity can lead us astray when our habits are misaligned with our goals or values. The key to leveraging habits for personal growth lies in bringing them into our conscious awareness and intentionally shaping them to serve our desired outcomes. One powerful technique for increasing awareness of our habits is inspired by the Japanese railway system's pointing and calling method. This safety system, which involves operators physically pointing at and verbally calling out various checks and procedures, has been shown to reduce errors by up to 85% and cut accidents by 30%. The effectiveness of this method lies in its ability to elevate routine actions from the non-conscious to the conscious level, engaging multiple senses and increasing overall awareness. We can adapt this concept to our personal lives by creating what we might call a habits scorecard. This simple yet powerful exercise involves listing out our daily habits and evaluating each one as positive, negative, or neutral. By doing so, we bring our automatic behaviors into conscious awareness, allowing us to identify areas for improvement and reinforcement. To create your own habits scorecard, start by listing out your daily routines in detail. Include everything from the moment you wake up to the time you go to bed. Once you have a comprehensive list, go through each item and ask yourself, is this a good habit, a bad habit, or a neutral habit? Mark each habit with A or accordingly. It's important to note that the classification of habits as good or bad is somewhat subjective and depends on your personal goals and circumstances. For instance, eating a high-calorie breakfast might be a positive habit for someone trying to gain weight, but a negative one for someone aiming to lose weight. The key is to evaluate each habit in the context of your own aspirations and desired identity. In fact, it might be more accurate to think of habits not as inherently good or bad, but as either effective or ineffective at solving problems and serving our long-term goals. All habits, even those we might label as bad, serve us in some way. That's why we repeat them. The challenge is to identify which habits are truly serving our long-term interests and which are providing short-term benefits at the expense of our broader goals. When evaluating your habits, consider this question: does this behavior help me become the type of person I wish to be? Does this habit cast a vote for or against my desired identity? Habits that align with and reinforce your desired identity are generally positive, while those that conflict with it are typically negative. As you work through your habit scorecard, resist the urge to judge or criticize yourself. The goal at this stage is simply to observe and become aware of your behaviors, not to change them immediately. Approach the exercise with a sense of curiosity, as if you were an impartial observer of your own life. Notice your patterns without attaching emotion or self-judgment to them. This neutral observation is a crucial first step in the process of habit change. By simply becoming aware of our habits, we often naturally begin to adjust our behaviors. It's like shining a light into a dark room. Suddenly we can see what's actually there, and that awareness alone can be transformative. For those who find they need additional support in maintaining this awareness, the pointing and calling method can be adapted for personal use. For example, if you're trying to reduce snacking, you might say out loud, "I'm about to eat this cookie, but I don't need it. Eating it will move me further from my health goals." This verbalization brings the action fully into your conscious awareness, creating a moment of pause that allows you to make a more intentional choice. As you become more aware of your habits, you may start to notice the cues that trigger them. These cues: the ping of a notification, the sight of the TV remote, the smell of coffee, often become so familiar that they fade into the background of our awareness. By bringing these cues back into focus, we gain the power to interrupt the habit loop and potentially reshape our responses. It's worth noting that the process of habit change is not about achieving perfection or adhering to rigid routines. Rather, it's about making consistent, small choices that align with our desired identity and long-term goals. Every action we take is essentially a vote for the type of person we want to become. We don't need to win every vote, but we need to win the majority to see real change. Moreover, habits don't exist in isolation. They're part of complex systems in our lives, often interconnected in ways we might not immediately recognize. Changing one habit can have ripple effects, influencing other behaviors and aspects of our lives. This interconnectedness can work in our favor sometimes. Changing one keystone habit can lead to a cascade of positive changes across various areas of life. As we work on becoming more aware of our habits and shaping them intentionally, it's crucial to approach the process with patience and self-compassion. Habit formation and change take time. Our brains require repeated experiences to forge new neural pathways and strengthen them to the point of automaticity. This process can't be rushed, but it can be guided with consistent effort and awareness. It's also important to consider the broader implications of habit formation beyond individual behavior. Collective habits form the basis of culture, and societal change often involves shifting the habits of many individuals. By understanding and mastering our own habits, we not only improve our personal lives but potentially contribute to positive changes on a larger scale. The journey of habit awareness and change is not always easy. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths about our behaviors and to challenge deeply ingrained patterns. However, the rewards of this process are immense. By bringing our habits into conscious awareness and intentionally shaping them to serve our goals, we gain a powerful tool for personal transformation. Imagine the compound effect of replacing just a few ineffective habits with more beneficial ones. Over time, these small changes can lead to dramatic improvements in our health, productivity, relationships, and overall quality of life. The key is to start small, focus on consistency rather than perfection, and maintain awareness of our behaviors over time. As we become more adept at recognizing and shaping our habits, we may find that this awareness extends beyond individual behaviors to larger patterns in our lives. We might start to notice recurring themes in our relationships, our work, or our emotional responses. This expanded awareness can open up new possibilities for growth and change in all areas of our lives. Furthermore, the skills we develop in habit awareness and modification can be applied to achieving any goal or making any change in our lives. Whether we're aiming to advance in our careers, improve our health, or cultivate better relationships, the ability to intentionally shape our habitual behaviors is a powerful tool. In conclusion, the journey of habit awareness and change is a fundamental aspect of personal growth and self-improvement. By bringing our automatic behaviors into conscious awareness, evaluating their effectiveness, and intentionally shaping them to serve our goals, we gain the power to direct our own evolution. This process requires patience, self-compassion, and consistent effort, but the potential rewards are immense. As we navigate this journey, we're not just changing our routines, we're reshaping our identity and our world. Each small action, each habit we modify, is a step towards becoming the person we aspire to be. In this way, the process of habit change is not just about achieving specific goals, but about continually growing and evolving as individuals. The power of habits lies not just in their ability to automate our behaviors, but in their potential to transform who we are and who we can become. By mastering our habits, we take control of our own destiny, creating the freedom to live life on our own terms and to make a positive impact on the world around us. In the complex tapestry of human behavior, habits play a crucial role in shaping our daily lives and long-term outcomes. Understanding how habits form, persist, and can be changed is essential for personal growth and self-improvement.
30 seconds left.
At the heart of this understanding lies the concept of cue-induced wanting, a phenomenon that explains why breaking bad habits can be so challenging. Cue-induced wanting occurs when an external trigger sparks a compulsive craving to repeat a particular behavior, often a bad habit. This process is constantly at work in our lives, frequently operating below the level of conscious awareness. Research has shown that even incredibly brief exposure to cues associated with addictive behaviors can stimulate the brain's reward pathways and ignite desire. For instance, showing cocaine addicts an image of the drug for just 33 milliseconds too fast for conscious recognition is enough to trigger craving. This insight reveals a fundamental truth about habits. While they can be broken, they are rarely, if ever, completely forgotten. Once the neural pathways associated with a habit are established in the brain, they remain etched there, even if they go unused for extended periods. This persistence of habit-related neural structures explains why resisting temptation through sheer willpower is often an ineffective long-term strategy for behavior change. Maintaining constant vigilance against temptation is exhausting and unsustainable in a world filled with distractions and triggers. While it's possible to overpower temptation in the short term through force of will, this approach is likely to fail over time as our mental resources become depleted. Instead, we must recognize that we are, to a large extent, products of our environment. The contexts in which we live, work, and play exert a powerful influence on our behavior, often more so than our conscious intentions. Given this reality, a more effective approach to eliminating bad habits is to focus on reducing exposure to the cues that trigger them. This strategy involves restructuring our environment to make the stimuli associated with undesirable behaviors less prominent or entirely absent. For example, if smartphone use is interfering with productivity, simply placing the device in another room can significantly reduce the temptation to check it constantly. Similarly, unfollowing social media accounts that provoke feelings of jealousy or inadequacy can help break the cycle of comparison and self-doubt. This approach of environmental modification can be applied to a wide range of habits. Removing a television from the bedroom can curtail excessive late-night viewing.
Match found.
Unsubscribing from tech review newsletters might curb impulsive gadget purchases. Unplugging and storing away gaming consoles after each use can help manage time spent on video games. These simple changes can be surprisingly effective in disrupting ingrained behavior patterns. The power of this method lies in its alignment with the fundamental laws of behavior change. Just as making cues obvious can reinforce positive habits, making them invisible can help extinguish negative ones. By eliminating or reducing the visibility of triggers associated with unwanted behaviors, we can often cause the entire habit to fade away over time. This strategy of environmental optimization represents a more sustainable approach to self-control than relying on willpower alone. Rather than constantly fighting against our desires, we can create contexts that naturally support our goals and values. People who appear to have high levels of self-control often achieve this not through superior willpower, but by structuring their lives to minimize exposure to tempting situations. It's important to recognize that self-control, in the traditional sense of resisting temptation through mental effort, is a limited resource. It may be effective for occasional challenges, but it's not a reliable long-term solution for significant behavior change. Instead of repeatedly summoning the willpower to do the right thing, we're better off investing our energy in creating environments that make good choices easier and bad choices harder. This principle extends beyond individual habits to broader aspects of our lives. The people we associate with, the media we consume, the places we frequent, all of these environmental factors shape our behavior in subtle but powerful ways. By consciously designing our surroundings to support our aspirations, we can harness the power of our environment to work for us rather than against us. Understanding the role of cues and environment in habit formation also sheds light on why some people seem to effortlessly maintain positive habits while others struggle. It's not necessarily a matter of inherent discipline or character, but often a reflection of the different contexts in which people live and work. Creating a positive environment is thus not just a personal matter, but also a social and cultural issue. As we consider strategies for cultivating good habits and breaking bad ones, it's helpful to think in terms of 4 fundamental laws: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. These principles can be applied to reinforce positive behaviors or, when inverted, to discourage negative ones. For establishing good habits, the first step is often simply becoming aware of our current patterns of behavior. This can be achieved through practices like maintaining a habit scorecard, where we write down our daily activities and assess their impact on our goals. Once we have this awareness, we can use techniques like implementation intentions, specific plans that link a desired behavior to a particular time and place to make good habits more likely to occur. Another powerful tool is habit stacking, where we piggyback a new habit onto an existing one. This leverages the strength of our current routines to establish new behaviors. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 5 minutes. By anchoring the new habit to an established one, we increase the likelihood of follow-through.
All tripped.
Making habits attractive is another key principle. This can involve finding ways to associate positive emotions or rewards with the behaviors we want to encourage. Similarly, making habits easy reduces the friction that often prevents us from following through on our intentions. This might involve breaking down larger goals into smaller, more manageable steps or removing obstacles that make good habits more difficult to perform.
30 seconds left.
Finally, making habits satisfying ensures that we feel rewarded for our efforts, increasing the likelihood that we'll repeat the behavior in the future. This can involve creating a sense of progress or achievement, or finding ways to make the process itself more enjoyable. When it comes to breaking bad habits, we can invert these principles. Making cues invisible, as discussed earlier, is a powerful first step. We can also work to make undesirable behaviors less attractive, perhaps by focusing on their negative consequences or finding healthier alternatives that fulfill the same needs. Making bad habits more difficult to perform, for instance, by adding extra steps or inconveniences, can also be effective. And finally, we can strive to make the outcomes of bad habits less satisfying, perhaps by implementing some form of negative consequence or by vividly imagining the long-term effects of the behavior. It's worth noting that the process of habit change is not always linear or straightforward. Our brains are complex systems shaped by evolution to respond to certain stimuli in ways that may no longer serve us well in modern environments. The work of scientists like Nico Tinbergen has revealed how deeply ingrained some of our responses to environmental cues can be. Tinbergen's experiments with herring gulls and greylag geese demonstrated the power of supernormal stimuli, exaggerated versions of natural cues that elicit stronger than normal responses. Baby gulls, for instance, were found to peck more vigorously at cardboard beaks with larger or more numerous red spots than at real gull
One
beaks.
enemy remaining.
Similarly, geese would attempt to roll larger, egg-shaped objects into their nests with greater effort than they would expend on actual eggs. These findings have profound implications for understanding human behavior in modern contexts. Just as the animals in Tinbergen's experiments responded more strongly to exaggerated versions of natural stimuli, humans often find themselves powerfully drawn to supernormal stimuli environment. Junk food, with its heightened flavors and carefully engineered combinations of salt, sugar, and fat, is a prime example of this phenomenon. Our brains, shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of evolution in environments where calories were scarce and hard to come by, are primed to seek out and consume energy-dense foods whenever they're available. In our ancestral past, this drive served us well, helping to ensure survival in uncertain conditions. Today, however, in an environment of abundance, these same instincts can lead us astray, driving overconsumption and contributing to health problems. This mismatch between our evolutionary programming and our current environment extends beyond food to many other aspects of modern life. The instant gratification offered by social media, the immersive experiences provided by video games, the constant stream of novel information available at our fingertips, all of these can be seen as supernormal stimuli that hijack our reward systems in ways our ancestors never had to contend with. Understanding these dynamics can help us approach habit change with greater compassion for ourselves and others. It's not a matter of weak will or moral failing when we struggle with bad habits. We're often fighting against deeply ingrained instincts that served our species well for millennia but may be maladaptive in our current context. At the same time, this understanding empowers us to take more effective action. By recognizing the power of environmental cues and the limitations of willpower, we can focus our efforts on creating contexts that support our goals rather than undermine them. We can design our physical and digital spaces to minimize exposure to tempting stimuli and maximize exposure to cues that trigger positive behaviors. Moreover, we can work to create new, healthier supernormal stimuli that satisfy our innate drives in more beneficial ways. For instance, we might seek out activities that provide the novelty and excitement our brains crave, but in forms that contribute to our well-being rather than detract from it. Engaging hobbies, challenging physical activities, or immersive learning experiences can all provide the kind of stimulation our brains seek, without the negative consequences associated with many modern sources of
Last
supernormal
player
stimuli.
standing.
In conclusion, the journey of habit change is a complex but fascinating one, deeply rooted in our evolutionary history and profoundly influenced by our modern environment. By understanding the mechanisms behind habit formation and persistence, we can develop more effective strategies for personal growth and self-improvement. The key lies not in heroic feats of willpower, but in thoughtful design of our environments and routines to align with our goals and values. Through this approach, we can harness the power of our habits to create lasting positive change in our lives. The intricate relationship between human behavior, habit formation, and the food industry reveals fascinating insights into the nature of desire and consumption in our modern world. At the heart of this relationship lies the powerful influence of dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in motivation, reward, and habit formation. The food science industry has harnessed our biological predispositions to create products that are irresistibly attractive to consumers. By manipulating factors such as texture, flavor, and sensory experience, food scientists have developed techniques to make processed foods exceptionally appealing. The concept of dynamic contrast. In food, the combination of different sensations like crunchiness and creaminess keeps our brains engaged and interested, encouraging continued consumption beyond the point of satiety. This optimization of food products extends to finding the perfect bliss point, a precise balance of salt, sugar, and fat that maximizes palatability and appeal. The result is a category of hyper-palatable foods that effectively hijack our reward systems, leading to overconsumption and potentially contributing to issues like obesity and related health problems. The power of these engineered foods lies in their ability to trigger dopamine release in our brains. Dopamine, once thought to be primarily associated with pleasure, is now understood to play a complex role in motivation, learning, and anticipation of rewards. Crucially, dopamine is released not just when we experience pleasure, but also when we anticipate it. This anticipatory aspect of dopamine release is key to understanding why certain habits, including those related to food consumption, can become so deeply ingrained and difficult to break. The dopamine-driven feedback loop that underlies habit formation extends far beyond food. In our modern society, we are surrounded by highly engineered versions of reality that are more attractive and stimulating than anything our ancestors encountered. From carefully crafted advertisements to the instant gratification of social media likes, these supernormal stimuli exploit our natural inclinations and drive us towards excessive behaviors in shopping, social media use, and various forms of entertainment. The trend towards more concentrated rewards and more enticing stimuli is likely to continue, presenting ever greater challenges to our ability to regulate our behavior and make healthy choices. Junk food, hard liquor, and video games are all examples of how natural rewards have been concentrated and amplified in ways that make them particularly hard to resist. Understanding the role of dopamine in craving and habit formation provides valuable insights for those seeking to change their behavior or break undesirable habits. The key realization is that it's the anticipation of reward, not necessarily the reward itself, that drives much of our behavior. This explains why the excitement of planning a vacation can sometimes exceed the enjoyment of the trip itself, or why the anticipation of a special event can be more thrilling than the event itself. This knowledge can be leveraged to make positive habits more attractive and thus more likely to stick. By finding ways to increase the anticipation of rewards associated with beneficial behaviors, we can harness the power of our dopamine system to work in our favor. Similarly, understanding the role of environmental cues in triggering cravings can help us design our surroundings to support our goals rather than undermine them. The challenge we face is significant. Our brains, evolved in an environment of scarcity, are now confronted with abundance and hyperstimulation at every turn. The very mechanisms that once ensured our survival, like the drive to consume calorie-dense foods, can now lead us astray in a world of plenty. However, by understanding these mechanisms, we gain the power to make informed choices and design strategies to align our behavior with our long-term goals and values. As we navigate this landscape of engineered experiences and supernormal stimuli, it's crucial to maintain awareness of how our environments and choices are shaping our habits. By consciously designing our surroundings and routines to support positive behaviors, we can work with our dopamine systems rather than against them. This might involve creating rewarding rituals around healthy activities, finding ways to make beneficial habits more immediately gratifying, or structuring our environments to minimize exposure to tempting cues. Moreover, this understanding calls for a broader societal conversation about the ethics of designing products and experiences that exploit our psychological vulnerabilities. As our ability to create irresistible stimuli grows, so too does our responsibility to consider the long-term impacts on individual and public health. In conclusion, the interplay between our ancient reward systems and our modern, engineered environment presents both challenges and opportunities. By deepening our understanding of the dopamine-driven processes underlying habit formation and craving, we equip ourselves with powerful tools for personal growth and societal progress. The key lies in harnessing these insights to create environments and habits that support our well-being, while remaining mindful of the potent forces shaping our desires and behaviors in the modern world. In our modern world, we find ourselves surrounded by an array of products and experiences meticulously designed to captivate our attention and spark our desires. At the forefront of this phenomenon is the food industry, where science and consumer psychology intersect to create irresistible edibles that keep us coming back for more. But this is just the tip of the iceberg in a society increasingly shaped by supernormal stimuli and engineered experiences that exploit our deepest biological drives. The food science industry has elevated the creation of appealing products to an art form, investing millions in research to perfect every aspect of the eating experience. From the satisfying crunch of a potato chip to the fizz of a soda, no detail is too small to escape scrutiny. The concept of oral sensation, how a food feels in your mouth, has become a key focus, with entire departments dedicated to optimizing this sensory experience. Consider the humble French fry, a seemingly simple food that embodies this approach. Its appeal lies in the contrast between its crispy exterior and soft interior, a combination that lights up our pleasure centers with each bite. This principle of dynamic contrast is a powerful tool in the food scientist's arsenal, creating products that offer a variety of sensations in a single item. The gooey cheese atop a crisp pizza crust, or the interplay between a crunchy cookie and its creamy filling, are prime examples of this strategy in action. These techniques serve a singular purpose to keep us engaged and eating long past the point where we might normally feel satisfied. Natural, unprocessed foods tend to become less appealing as we consume them, a phenomenon known as sensory-specific satiety. Your brain gradually loses interest in the repetitive sensations, signaling that it's time to stop eating. However, foods high in dynamic contrast circumvent this natural mechanism, maintaining novelty and interest bite after bite. The ultimate goal of this scientific approach to food design is to find the bliss point, that perfect balance of salt, sugar, and fat that makes a product irresistible to the human palate. This combination triggers a powerful response in our brains, overriding natural satiety signals and encouraging overconsumption. The result is a category of hyperpalatable foods that are incredibly attractive to our reward systems, often leading to overeating and associated health issues. But the implications of this approach extend far beyond the realm of nutrition. The principle at work here, making something more attractive to increase the likelihood of repeated engagement, is a fundamental aspect of habit formation. In essence, the food industry has become adept at creating habit-forming products by exploiting our natural tendencies and biological drives. This phenomenon is not limited to food. Our modern society is replete with examples of engineered experiences designed to be more appealing than anything our ancestors encountered. Retail stores use mannequins with exaggerated features to sell clothing, tapping into our instinctive responses to certain body shapes. Social media platforms have perfected the art of delivering rapid-fire positive reinforcement, providing more likes and praise in a few minutes than we might receive in days of real-world interaction. The world of online entertainment offers perhaps the most striking examples of this trend. Pornography sites present a constant stream of novel, highly stimulating content at a pace impossible to replicate in real life. Video games offer immersive experiences that can be more engaging than many real-world activities. Even advertisements have become highly sophisticated, using ideal lighting, professional makeup, and digital editing to create images that are more attractive than reality.
Down A.
These are all examples of supernormal stimuli, artificial constructs that exaggerate the features we're naturally attracted to, eliciting a stronger response than we would have to natural stimuli. Our instincts, honed over millennia of evolution, are ill-equipped to handle these intensified versions of reality. As a result, we often find ourselves drawn into excessive behaviors, whether it's overeating, compulsive shopping, social media addiction, or other habits that can be detrimental to our well-being. The trend towards more concentrated rewards and more enticing stimuli shows no signs of slowing down. If anything, history suggests that future opportunities for gratification will be even more attractive than those available today. We can see this pattern in the evolution of various products and experiences. Junk food offers a more concentrated form of calories than natural foods. Hard liquor provides a more potent dose of alcohol than beer. Video games present a more immersive and stimulating form of play than traditional board games. This intensification of experience poses a significant challenge to our ability to regulate our behavior and make healthy choices. We find ourselves equipped with brains that evolved in an environment of scarcity, now faced with abundance and hyperstimulation at every turn. The very mechanisms that once ensured our survival, like the drive to consume calorie-dense foods when available, can now lead us astray in a world of plenty. To understand why these engineered experiences are so powerful, we need to delve into the neuroscience of habit formation and craving. At the heart of this process is dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in motivation, reward, and learning. For many years, scientists believed that dopamine was primarily associated with pleasure. However, more recent research has revealed that its role is far more complex and central to a wide range of neurological processes. Dopamine is involved not just in experiencing pleasure, but in motivation, learning and memory, punishment and aversion, and even voluntary movement. The key insight when it comes to habit formation is that dopamine is released not only when we experience a reward, but also when we anticipate one. This anticipatory aspect of dopamine release is crucial to understanding why certain behaviors become habitual and why breaking bad habits can be so challenging. Experiments with animals have provided striking demonstrations of dopamine's power. When researchers blocked dopamine release in rats, the animals lost all motivation, refusing to eat, drink, or engage in any goal-directed behavior. They quite literally lost the will to live. Conversely, when scientists flooded the reward centers of animal brains with dopamine, the subjects engaged in repetitive behaviors at an astonishing rate, such as mice poking their noses into a box hundreds of times per hour in pursuit of a dopamine hit. Human behavior shows similar patterns, albeit in more complex forms. Gambling addicts experience a surge of dopamine just before placing a bet, not after winning. Cocaine users get a dopamine spike at the sight of the drug before actually consuming it. This anticipatory release of dopamine is what drives us to action, creating the motivation to pursue rewards. This understanding of dopamine's role helps explain why the anticipation of an experience can often be more enjoyable than the experience itself. The excitement of planning a vacation or looking forward to a special event can surpass the actual pleasure of the moment when it arrives. Scientists describe this as the difference between wanting and liking two related but distinct processes in the brain. The implications of this dopamine-driven feedback loop are profound for our understanding of habit formation and behavior change. Every highly habit-forming behavior, from drug use to social media browsing, is associated with elevated levels of dopamine. Even our most basic habitual behaviors like eating, drinking, and social interaction, operate on this same principle. Recognizing the power of anticipation in driving behavior provides valuable insights for those seeking to change their habits or cultivate new ones. Rather than relying solely on willpower to resist temptation, we can focus on manipulating our environment and routines to make desirable behaviors more attractive and undesirable ones less so. For instance, if we want to establish a habit of regular exercise, we might focus on creating positive anticipation around the activity. This could involve planning enjoyable routes for runs, choosing workout music that excites us, or rewarding ourselves with a pleasant post-workout ritual. By associating the anticipation of exercise with positive feelings, we can harness our dopamine system to reinforce the habit. Conversely, to break a bad habit, we might focus on reducing the anticipatory pleasure associated with it. This could involve removing cues from our environment that trigger cravings, or consciously focusing on the negative consequences of the behavior rather than its short-term rewards. However, it's important to recognize that we're not just passive recipients of our environment's influences. We have the power to consciously design our surroundings and routines in ways that support our goals. This might involve creating physical spaces that encourage productive behaviors, carefully curating our digital environments to minimize exposure to addictive content, or structuring our daily schedules to prioritize activities that align with our long-term aspirations. Moreover, understanding the role of dopamine and anticipation in driving behavior can help us develop more compassion for ourselves and others when it comes to struggling with bad habits or addictions. Rather than viewing these challenges as simple matters of willpower or moral failing, we can recognize them as the result of powerful neurological processes shaped by both our biology and our environment. This perspective also raises important questions about the ethics of designing products and experiences that exploit these psychological vulnerabilities. As our ability to create irresistible stimuli grows, so too does our responsibility to consider the long-term impacts on individual and public health. There's a need for broader societal conversations about how we can balance innovation and consumer appeal with ethical considerations and public well-being. In conclusion, the intricate dance between our ancient reward systems and our modern, engineered environment presents both challenges and opportunities. By deepening our understanding of the dopamine-driven processes underlying habit formation and craving, we equip ourselves with powerful tools for personal growth and societal progress. The key lies in harnessing these insights to create environments and habits that support our well-being, while remaining mindful of the potent forces shaping our desires and behaviors in the modern world. As we navigate this landscape of supernormal stimuli and carefully crafted experiences, maintaining awareness of how our choices and surroundings influence our habits becomes crucial. By consciously designing our environments and routines to support positive behaviors, we can work with our dopamine systems rather than against them.
One enemy remaining.
This might involve creating rewarding rituals around healthy activities, finding ways to make beneficial habits more immediately gratifying, or structuring our surroundings to minimize exposure to tempting cues. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate all sources of pleasure or to live in denial of our natural drives. Rather, it's to create a balance where we can enjoy the fruits of human ingenuity and progress while maintaining control over our behaviors and staying true to our deeper values and aspirations. By understanding the science behind habit formation and applying these insights thoughtfully, we can cultivate lives rich in meaningful experiences and sustainable pleasures, rather than being driven by the fleeting highs of engineered stimuli. In doing so, we reclaim our agency in a world increasingly designed to push our buttons, charting a course towards greater well-being and fulfillment. The intricate dance between our brains and behavior reveals fascinating insights into the nature of habit formation and the power of anticipation. At the heart of this process lies dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a far more complex role than simply signaling pleasure. Understanding how dopamine functions in our brains can provide valuable tools for shaping our habits and improving our lives. When we first encounter a rewarding experience, our brains release dopamine as we enjoy the novel pleasure.
Worthless.
However, as we repeat this experience, our clever brains begin to shift the timing of the dopamine release. Instead of spiking when we receive the reward, dopamine now surges in anticipation immediately after we recognize a cue associated with the pleasurable experience. This shift is the key to habit formation, as it creates a feeling of desire and a craving to take action whenever we encounter the cue. This anticipatory dopamine release explains why the excitement of looking forward to a vacation can sometimes exceed the enjoyment of the trip itself, or why the build-up to a special event often feels more thrilling than the actual moment. Our brains are wired to motivate us through anticipation, pushing us to pursue rewards based on the expectation of pleasure rather than the pleasure itself. Interestingly, once a habit is firmly established, dopamine no longer increases when we experience the expected reward. However, if we encounter a cue and anticipate a reward that doesn't materialize, dopamine levels drop sharply, leading to feelings of disappointment and frustration. This sensitivity to prediction errors helps refine our habits over time, reinforcing behaviors that reliably lead to rewards and discouraging those that don't. The power of anticipation in driving behavior becomes even more apparent when we consider the neural real estate devoted to wanting versus liking. Our brains have significantly more circuitry allocated for desiring rewards than for enjoying them.
One enemy remaining.
The wanting centers of the brain are expansive, including regions like the nucleus accumbens, ventral tegmental area, and portions of the prefrontal cortex. In contrast, the liking centers are much smaller, consisting of scattered hedonic hotspots throughout the brain. This disproportionate allocation of neural resources to wanting over liking underscores the crucial role that desire and anticipation play in motivating our actions. It's not the fleeting moment of pleasure that drives us, but the persistent craving that precedes it. This insight has profound implications for how we approach habit formation and behavior change. Recognizing the power of anticipation, we can employ strategies to make our desired habits more attractive and thus more likely to stick.
Spike planted.
One such approach is temptation bundling, a clever technique that links an action we want to do with one we need to do.
Shadows traveling.
By pairing a necessary but unappealing task with a highly desirable activity, we can leverage our brain's reward system to motivate positive behavior. Consider the story of Ronan Byrne, an engineering student who hacked his stationary bike to only allow Netflix to play while he was pedaling at a certain speed. By bundling the enjoyment of watching his favorite shows with the physical activity he knew he should be doing, Byrne created a powerful incentive for exercise. This ingenious solution not only made his workout more appealing, but also added an element of immediate reward to an otherwise challenging task. Businesses often employ similar strategies on a larger scale. The American broadcasting company ABC masterfully used temptation bundling in promoting their Thursday night television lineup. By encouraging viewers to pair watching their shows with enjoyable activities like drinking wine and eating popcorn, ABC associated their programming with relaxation and indulgence. Over time, this association strengthened, making the habit of tuning in on Thursday nights more attractive to viewers. The effectiveness of temptation bundling is rooted in a psychological principle known as Premack's principle, which states that more probable behaviors will reinforce less probable behaviors.
I'll take it.
In other words, by linking a desired activity like watching TV with a less appealing but necessary task like exercising, we can condition ourselves to engage in the less enjoyable activity more consistently. This principle can be applied to a wide range of habits. For instance, someone might allow themselves to read gossip magazines only while at the gym, or permit themselves to get a pedicure only while catching up on work emails. The key is to identify activities you genuinely enjoy and use them as rewards for completing necessary but less appealing tasks. To maximize the effectiveness of temptation bundling, it can be combined with habit stacking, another powerful behavior change strategy. Habit stacking involves linking a new habit you want to form with an existing habit you already perform consistently. By creating a formula that pairs a current habit with a needed habit, followed by a wanted habit, You can create a chain of behaviors that reinforces positive change. For example, someone trying to cultivate gratitude and stay informed might adopt the following routine. After I get my morning coffee, I will say one thing I'm grateful for.